You've had a day,
Okay,
haven't
time to
you?
move on. Time to move on.
You've had a
No,
day.
I've had a day, and it sucks because I've written "missed the winning shot" as my byline today, because this has got to be what it feels like when you're on a team sport of some sort, and you've got the final shot at goal after the siren, and it's an easy one, and you flub it. Like, this has got to be a pretty similar feeling to that, because fundamentally there is nothing wrong with any of the arguments that I brought. I structured them in a way that I thought was going to have maximum effect, and I structured them because I believed that Daniel, the guy that I was debating, his company was on the take. And I believed that because I'd found a press release from the Treasurer that named his company in relation to various government incentive programs. And I found some article around that talked about a $20 billion program that was going on, blah, blah, blah. I clearly did not actually stop and read. I think what I did, if I really drill down and go, okay, what happened in that moment? When I found that information, I fell prey to my own confirmation bias.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had already, and it's like, this is not good. I'm not justifying. This is in no way to minimize. This is really, in terms of my line of work, like, this is really serious. I expected to find it. And therefore, when I found something that was adjacent to what I expected, I thought, aha, I've found it. Truth was, I hadn't. And I allowed myself to be in such a hurry that I went, okay, tick that box. I've got that piece of information, catalog that, now move on to all the other stuff that I need. And boy, did that bite me in the ass. What an idiot I feel like right now.
You know what, though? I think, like, you're not going to like hearing this, but I think every now and then it's good to have a loss. It keeps you humble. Not that you needed that, but also it makes you sharpen your tools a bit. If you're always winning, It's a bit like... let me give you this. You'll never hear this from me in any other way. But back in my youth, I was a mad Essendon supporter, right? Don't tell anyone. But I was a massive
Your secret is safe with me. Your secret is safe with me.
Excellent. And however many people are currently on the live stream. And we were paid up members. We went to every home game. We had our own seats and everything. That's how into it we were. And it was the year 2000, and we had this running streak of just wins, right? It was the year that Essendon won every single game bar one. And it was the one game that I happened to be going to with another party who was a massive Western Bulldogs fan. And I was gloating, right? I would have been, 14 or something. Yeah.
You were insufferable.
Absolutely. Well, we'd been winning. We'd won the whole bloody way through.
Yeah.
So in my mind, we were obviously winning this bloody one. And so I sat there the whole game gloating. And I can't remember what we lost by, but we lost. And it was the most ultimate humiliation. In the chat, you guys are saying Carlton. That was the prelim the year before. This is the year 2000 when Essendon won their last premiership.
This is clearly burned into Carly's memory. She has every single detail catalogued in her brain.
I was so upset. And also, I was kind of humiliated. I'd been sitting there championing. And we used to sit just to the left of the cheer squad, right, behind the goals where they all do their flag wearing and stuff. And I know you might not think this of me now, but I was a rabid supporter. I was up screaming. I was wearing all the paraphernalia. I had the Guernsey on, everything. And let's just say it was the quietest I've ever been because I was in the car on the way home and I didn't know what to do with myself. I was so humiliated. Thanks, Essendon. And it's a lesson in not getting too ahead of yourself.
Yeah.
So what I'm telling you is you've got a lesson in humility.
Yeah, look, there's definitely a lesson in this. And as I sort of think it through, I'm like, okay, I had in my head a catalog of reference material that I needed to have on hand because I'd workshopped, every potential direction. So Punter and Daniel, I'm not sure if they're personal friends, but they're both alumni of the Australia Institute. They're both very much on the same page on a lot of issues. I had to go into it on the assumption that it was going to be a 2 versus 1. Now, to be fair, I don't think it was. I think there was the dice was a little bit loaded, but hey, most people in a debate will come out and go, oh, that was against me. Like every sports team thinks the umpire was on the other team's side, right? Like that's kind of how it goes. So I'm certainly not going to say that Punter was one-sided, but I had to be prepared for just about anything. And so I had this whole catalog. If it goes to climate change, I need the graph that demonstrates the declining hurricane intensity globally. I need the graph that shows declining wildfire coverage globally. I need the graph that shows that the Great Barrier Reef is doing just fine. I need the graph. I need the University of Alabama Huntsville's GISS, GISS, what's the satellite temperature record, but I need the one that's been done by Dr. Roy Spencer, because the way that he lays it out is really clear. You know, and I'm just ticking boxes in my head, and I'm getting reference material, and I included into that reference material, you know, and I had to do the same thing for China. They're going to bring up the December 2025 54% claim around new energy vehicles in China. I've got to go and get that report and have my, you know, I'm reading their stuff and looking, what are their go-tos? Where are they, you know, is Punter going to try and make this about gas? Because let's be honest, everything's about gas. You know, Pumba, to you, everything's gas. Like that's Punter. I wanted to say that, but he never brought up gas. I had that line ready to go.
That's really
he never brought it up. To his credit, he never brought it up. You know, so that's where my head was at. And then I made the mistake of putting into that same list things that I wasn't sure were true. All those other things, that's stuff I've researched time and time again over 17 years. I know I can go and get that reference material, and I know it's rock solid because I've been talking about this stuff for 10 years. Yes, the data has been updating over that time, but the story and what it says is rock solid. And then I went, I need to find evidence. You know, I'm basing a lot of this on this question of subsidies. I just need to go and research Daniel's company and find the subsidies that he's gotten. And I didn't recognize my prejudice in that moment, that I'd assumed that there were subsidies there to find. And so then when I found that he'd been on the receiving end of essentially like an incubator type program, which gave him access to lots of subsidies, but he claims he's never received any. Has he applied for some? I don't know. Are there some in the pipeline? I don't know. Bottom line is I believed that he had already received them and he hasn't. And that makes me wrong. And that means I lose. And that is really, really annoying. That is like, I just... As I say in my byline, I missed the winning shot. Like that's what it feels like right now.
I think that's, you know, it's not a bad thing. I think that's important. I'm starting to get on board with this regular guest on the Carlz Show. It's my show.
Not on board. It's starting to get bored. He spelt it wrong, but it's starting to get bored. Having a go at me. Don't worry, Baz. I'm gone. You know what? I've timed this perfectly. I fly out right around about Oddcast time on Monday in a week. So I've just managed to scrape it in that this will be my last Oddcast Live. And Carly will be able to run the Carly Show for, I think, 9 straight weeks in whatever manner you see fit.
The Carly Show, I mean, don't threaten me with a good time. I've got, guys.
Well, you're not threatening anybody else with a good time, that's for sure.
I have got some epic people lined up for our Monday night shows. People that we haven't had on before, and people that I think you'll very much enjoy having on. So Monday nights will still be cool. So much so we probably won't want Topher back. Kidding. Wow. Kidding.
It's a good thing I've got multiple bottles of wine to keep me company tonight, because clearly I've got no other friends.
How's Riot? 9 weeks of reels. You know it. You know it.
Don't give her ideas, dude. Rookie mistake.
2 of our guests are quite big on social media, and I think you guys will really appreciate hearing from them. So I think we've got Avi and Rukshan for 1 week. We've got a couple of other people that have never been on the show.
I thought you said you had good guests.
No, that's the week I couldn't find anyone, so I've just
that's fair. All right,
they're just my fill-ins.
Yeah.
But yeah, it should be interesting. So you're off to America for 9 weeks. 9 weeks? I thought it was 8.
Well, no, because it's 2 months plus a bit. So let me do the math. So what are we looking at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 and a bit.
Yeah, wow. That's
9
a long
and a bit
time
weeks.
to be away from home.
I'll be back on the 5th, and just between you and me, I won't even get home before I'm walking into a studio in Sydney to do a pilot for just a tester for a new potential format, a new potential show. So not only will I be in the US for 9 weeks, slaving away, obviously, not at all enjoying the fact that it's summer over there whilst it's winter over here. I will not take advantage of the fact that their tobacco has a fraction of the tax that we have over here. I will not be tempted into attending a NASCAR race. I will resist the temptation. I will refuse any and all opportunities to go shooting. And of course, I will attend the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, July the 4th, 2026, with all the fireworks and celebration. But I promise you that deep down inside, just like Barack Obama said that he didn't inhale, I won't be enjoying it. Okay, I will be enduring it for all of your sake. So I hope you appreciate the sacrifice. And then I get back to Australia and I'm straight back into a studio.
Excellent. Well, I hope we
Wait, you seem unimpressed with my sacrifices.
No, not really. I mean, to be fair, I do like America. I haven't been there for a while. I haven't been to America since before COVID, actually.
Okay, this is a great question. Steph, 100%. I will be getting up in the middle of the night in order to do the masterclass sessions as scheduled while I'm in the US, 100%.
We will make him work, Steph. Don't you worry. He will be working just as hard, if not harder, whilst he's away. And he'll have me riding his ass going...
That's probably G didn't really want to know that you did that to me at work, but you know.
That's right, I do it to him too now. Are you guys assuming I'm going to have Abby Chatfield on the chat? There is no chance. So actually, this is a good topic. So you actually got to talk to punters, right? Which is great. Good. Sorry, did I just knock my microphone? My hair's stuck in it. Which is great. You know, I love it when people cross the aisle because typically people don't like to. And so I brought up Hannah Ferguson a couple of times. She's the young girl. She's 22. She runs Cheek Media, and she's also a very progressive lefty. She's the one that said that BRS deserves to be jailed. She's also the one that said we need to have more empathy for the ISIS brides. Now, she put up something yesterday, and I actually think I might play this because what ensued after this was quite interesting. So we often talk about, oh, you know, why don't you get this person on the chat? Well, the answer is I actually reach out to a lot of people, and people who don't politically align with us usually either just don't even reply to you or they'll just find some reason to get out of it. Like, no, I'm busy scheduling conflicts, blah, blah, blah. Because the truth is, and it's kind of what you were saying before, you know you're going into adversarial territory. You know it's either going to be a gotcha, they're going to try and make you look bad. And when you're going onto someone else's podcast and, you know, it's their home turf, well, you don't know what you're up against. It's a bit different if it's like a panel. You know how SBS has those panels, even though the SBS is very left. But I'm going to play you what Hannah put up because I think you guys might have something to say about it. So let me just grab this. You guys will be happy to know that I've me and G have spent the whole day yesterday setting up my office. And now I have to apparently log into everything again. All right, here we go. Add to stage. All right. So this is Hannah.
To have conversations with people in your life who are thinking about voting for One Nation, there's a very good reason for that. Pauline Hanson is incredibly effective in creating a kind of bubble around herself which insulates her from criticism from her own voter base. The method is incredibly similar to Donald Trump. People are fed up with the establishment. Voters are shifting to her because they're sick of the two-party system and want to send a clear message. It's not necessarily about Pauline or her policies. It's about the system. It's about the establishment. But the consequence of this is that whenever the media or another politician critiques her, it just feeds back into her claim that she's for the everyday person because she's outside of this system. And that means that every valid critique is suddenly an attack. It's a conspiracy. It adds to her message. Now, while we might know that both Donald Trump and Pauline Hanson are just extensions of the establishment that are coming to it with a different voice and approach, it's incredibly effective. They have positioned themselves as outsiders who are there to shake things up. No matter what they say or do, no matter what their policy platform is or who it harms, no matter who they're backed by, people just believe in the difference of their message and want to ignore the substance in order to protest the major parties. And that's why every time you have a conversation with someone who's inside this bubble, you can't get through because in their mind, you're just adding to the weight of the establishment. And
okay, that's enough. All right. Can I eviscerate her or are you going to go first?
I'm just going to read you my comment, okay? So I wrote, Hannah, There's a meaningful difference between critiquing your own political side from a place of shared values and making sweeping assumptions about people whose lives and circumstances are fundamentally different to yours. This take isn't an intellectual analysis, it's simply your projection. I can see you want to be taken seriously, so I genuinely encourage you to do the harder thing rather than inferring how people on the other side think and feel. Ask them. You might find the answer is more complicated and more human than your assumption. As it stands, your assertions aren't just incorrect, they're dismissive of the very people you're claiming to understand. And to her credit, I'm just going to reply, and this is why I'm coming back to the whole people going on to each other's podcast. To her credit, she wrote, "Hello, thanks for this response. There are actually a few people in my life who are talking to me about voting for One Nation. I'm from a regional area and have lived in Queensland for 6 years too. So while I have more of an inner city progressive perspective, please don't assume that I'm not having these conversations. I do ask, and I really want to hear what I am picking up from people, that they are angry and want change. There are nuances to every voter, but the message feels clear. They don't see Pauline as perfect, but they do see her as different to the system. We are all so sick of it letting us down." And we went on and we ended up having a bit of a chat. And I said, look, you're right. People are choosing Pauline because she feels different, but that doesn't make these people uneducated. It doesn't mean that they don't know what they're voting for. And, you know, the whole, oh, Donald Trump, this is the same tactic. I'm like, no, people are choosing Pauline because she's consistent. And it's so funny because typically with these lefties, they're very good at projecting that which they are themselves, which is you guys are also in an echo chamber. You're assuming what we think. But anyway, at the end of it, I said to her, why don't you come on our podcast? Let's have a chat. No gotcha. We're not going to sit there and antagonize you. Just honestly a chat, because we already know we disagree, right? That's fundamental. We disagree. But I'm sure there's a lot we do agree on. We're both unhappy with the current status quo. You think it should be this way. I think it should be this way. Let's see. Let's compare notes. And to her credit, she said yes in the comments, but then I, private messaged her and she's left me on red. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, look, give it some time. Give it some time. But can I make an interesting comment here? This is very, very common. She deliberately or naively, who knows, inverts the cause and the effect. She is trying to say that Pauline has positioned herself as the outsider. I'm sorry. She was put in prison by the Liberal Party. She's been delisted. She's been mocked in every single media outlet. She's been called every single name you can imagine. She's been ostracized within her own workplace. Workplace bullying has been rife and directed against her. Every time she comes up with a good policy, they vote it down and then steal the policy so they can vote their version up 3 months later. She is not positioning herself as an outsider. They made her. Now, I did a video a while ago as I was kind of just beginning to get the boldness to just piss people off and really not care. And in that video, I said, you're the one that cast me as the devil. Don't get mad now that you know I'm good at it. Right? That's like, you made me. And it's exactly the same with her. But this kind of, she's Trump-esque positioning, trying to position, actually weirdly, positioning her as this savant, this master manipulator, giving her sort of this elevated status in a weird kind of perverse way. They're elevating their enemy because the bigger the enemy that you fight, the more important you must be. And so there's this interesting psychological incentive to elevate your enemy. And they're elevating her up to mastermind status. No. She's exactly what you described, but she didn't put herself there. She was made to be the outsider by the actions of the insiders. Now, more than that, the last piece that I'll stop rabbiting on. This is not a shift in policies. People go, people aren't voting for Pauline's policies. You're mostly right. And now some are, but actually a lot of them aren't. This is a much more fundamental and deeper shift than that. They know what's not working. They're willing to try something new, but actually they're sick of being lied to. And that cuts to the theme for this episode and the thumbnail that you've made for this episode. So this is actually about a deeper moral choice. Now, what this means, the reason why this matters, is the Liberal Party right now are trying to steal a bunch of One Nation policies. The Nationals, a little bit of the same going on. They think that if they can just come up with the right policies, then they'll be able to swing this momentum back in their direction. It's true they'll be able to swing a few percent. There will be a few percent that they can swing. But actually, for the majority of the people who 2 years ago would never have voted One Nation, who are now answering the polls and saying, yes, I'm going to vote for One Nation, for the vast majority of those people that have moved in the last, well, particularly the last year, it's a moral choice, not a policy choice, not even a personality choice. It's deeper than that. And you're not winning them back with a policy change.
I've been saying this for a while now. I know I've been saying it on the podcast, but people keep wanting to have this argument about it's left versus right, you know, and it's wokeism versus far right. And I would argue it's so much more than that. This is about what's innately human and what is dystopian, what is inherently against what we intuitively believe to be true. And with a lot of these things, let's take a lot of the climate policies or even,
Sure.
you know, the wokeness. With all of those new ideologies, all the new think, you know, you could call it double speak, right? Like it's 1984 stuff. We know that there's something wrong there. There's friction. Whenever people introduce these new ideologies, I'm going to give you an example. Let's talk about the trans thing recently with Sal Grover. When this came to the mainstream, when this became a talking point that men could transition and become women and now they should be invited into women's spaces, people at their core knew that's inherently wrong. It's against our nature. Why? Because the heckles on your back start to stand up. You get bloody cold chills when you think about it. But the problem is there could be some repercussions if you don't go along with it. And so people did for a degree, because you had potentially professional retribution if you didn't do it, if you didn't put the pronouns in your bio, if you didn't wear the rainbow lanyard, if you didn't sort of, you know, do the welcome to country. There's an expectation for you to perform. But now it gets to a point where people are so fatigued of performing, and also you can't hold it up. And what happens when you have an ideology that requires performance is people get to a point where the rewards don't outweigh the cost of that performance anymore, and they become indifferent. It's not that they get mad. It's not a revolution with pitchforks and torches. It's people just go, I'm out. And so we're there with wokeness, but we're there with so many of these government policies as well. Whether it's, you know, the way that Labor keeps wanting to tax us, whether it's the way they approach small business, whether it's the way they keep using taxpayer funds and it's illicitly used across the CFMEU, and it's a blatant outright corruption, but no one wants to investigate it. All of these things, all at once. It's not one particular thing. It's the culmination of them all together, and people just go, I'm out. And we're never going to see riots. Australians aren't that kind of person. What we are is apathetic. When we're truly disengaged, we just go, I'm out, and we just piss off. And it's like the boy who cried wolf, right? You just don't give a shit anymore. And so when it comes to all of these policies, whether it's whatever Labor's trying to do with the budget, what they're trying to do with wokeness, what they're trying to do with climate change, if people have already tapped out, you cannot reconvince them. You cannot bring them back into double speak. The facade or the mirage is disappearing.
The momentum is only going in one direction for at least for the duration of that generation. Obviously, each new generation then grows up in a different reality, and their version of counterculture looks different. I talk about that a lot. But for this generation and for these generations that are alive and politically active right now, there is only one direction to go, because we've been over here, here on the left. We're now rejecting a lot of that. And you're dead right. Once, you know, if someone's been a true believer in climate change for 10 years and then finally they go, hang on, there aren't more hurricanes. There aren't more wildfires. Sea level rise isn't accelerating. None of the calamities are actually eventuating. Hang on, what have I been afraid of all my life? Once they have that epiphany, they're never going back. That spell is broken forever. So no, you're absolutely right. Now, this is a great question here.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say, we're going to talk about Jacinda Allen in 2 seconds, but what I was going to say, sorry, what did you just say at the end of your sentence? What did you...
Well, they're never going back.
So let's take climate change as a really good example, right? You've got your Gretas and all that, the super progressives who are still on that train. But for the most part, right, most people are done with these paper straws seem to be the straw that broke the camel's back. And I know this because I mentioned it really briefly. I've done a new reel series. I don't know if you saw it. I'm not going to play it for you. You guys can go.
I avoid your social media like the plague, Carly. I'm amazed you haven't figured that out yet.
I'm going to make you watch it in here.
Pretty much.
I actually am going to play you one because it's funny. All right, because you resisted. If you had got on board.
I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that to you. I'm sorry.
I wouldn't have done it, but here we are. Okay.
Hey, look, this is a great night for drowning my sorrows. Why not go hard, hey?
Yeah, just drink. All right. So, which one was it? This one. Was it this one?
I don't know. You're the one telling the story.
All right, here we go. Ready?
Mission accomplished.
Over 62% of the clothes in your wardrobe are made from crude oil, and 93% of what Australians buy ends up in landfill where it sheds microplastics for thousands of years into waterways. But I'm so glad we have paper straws.
Okay. So obviously that's designed to piss you off, hence the slurp.
The slurp, I was already, you didn't even have to open your mouth. The slurp was enough. I was there. I was 100%. Raging already.
100%. That's the whole point of it. But interestingly, when I put that up and I made the comment about the paper straws, that seems to be the thing that's really done it for people. That and the bamboo utensils, right? Like the woody tasting bloody spoons that you now get when you do takeout.
Yeah.
And so people were down with the whole CFCs in the sky. That was my generation. It was the CFCs and the ozone layer. Like I was in primary school when I got told that. And you had to recycle. You had to do everything right. And then slowly as time's gone by, you realize the resistance is not because we don't believe it to be true. It's just because the performance is so difficult to participate in anymore.
Yeah,
the climate change thing keeps pushing. Now you've got to throw out everything that you have and buy the EV car. You got to stop this and do this. Everything that's like normal and made your life quite simple is now way more complicated because they've added all these extra steps because of climate change. Yet, funnily enough, as we know, people are still buying waterfront properties for millions of dollars. Banks are still lending out money for mortgages for multi-million-dollar coastal properties. Yep. So if climate change were real, and as the 9 article last week said, the giant ice shelf's going to fall off into the ocean and rise sea levels by 3 meters.
This time their predictions are going to come true, Carly. They didn't last time or the time before that or the one before. Let's forget about all the others, but this time they're right.
I live literally 200 meters from the beach. Why aren't all my the properties around me got for sale signs on them? Like, this is what I mean.
Carly,
the good stuff.
Call me when my house becomes beachfront property, right? Then I'll be like, yeah, okay, all right, I got it wrong. All right, I think I'm about 270 meters above sea level, something like that. If my house becomes beachfront property, at that point I'll be like, you know what? I owe Greta an apology. Until then, nah.
Topher and I have a running joke. He keeps trying to make me move to Albury, and I keep saying to him, as soon as the sea levels rise and Albury becomes beachfront property, I'm there.
I'm working on it. I'm trying to get people to drive V8s, and they're just whinging about the price.
It's you who's down at the ice shelf, just like with a pickaxe, just trying to make it fall into the ocean, isn't it? You just, can you want me to move to Albury?
Crowbar, one of the big tall ones, one of the 8-foot crowbars with like that big metal ball on the top. Just yeah.
It all makes sense. Suddenly,
a pickaxe is ridiculous. Have you seen how big that ice shelf is? Pickaxe, my ass. It's a crowbar, Carly. Crowbar.
All right. Well, anyway, so, yeah, that's my story. All right, Jacinta Allen.
We should talk about this. This is a great question.
If you lived in Jacinta's electorate and she knocked on your door, I have an answer for this. Are you ready?
I'm sure you do.
Okay, I wrote it down because it was funny, and now I've forgotten it because I'm on the hook. 1 minute. 1 minute.
You're gonna go and read it?
I have to read it because I can't remember what I fucking said.
Sorry, everybody. Carly's just checking her notes.
Yeah, I am checking my notes.
We're going to circle back.
Notes, unlike someone who didn't check their notes correctly. Burn.
That's wow. Gloves are off. Last week before I'm gone for 9 weeks, you're like, I'm going to leave him with deep emotional scarring to work through over his 2 and a bit months of absence. Wow.
So what would I do?
I knew you were savage, but I didn't know that you were a savage.
No, you've underestimated me. All right. What would I do for Jacinta Allen? I would make her cry by forcing her to look at the faces of all the young children who have been murdered by the people she refuses to incarcerate. And then I'd make her wear that guilt like a tramp stamp and carry that shame with her for the rest of her life. That is what I'd do.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Can I just say, you're not getting good reviews in the comments here. People share my outrage. I mean, it pretty much. I mean, G's on your side, but he has to be. I mean, he's got to sleep next to you. So, wow. But that, wow. That hurt.
To be fair, that was some of my best work.
It was. I gotta respect it. That was actually actual quality, and I don't give you that compliment very often. All right, moving on. Carlz, while your very failed co-host, that's what everybody says in a Trump voice.
It's a failed guy.
Have Abby or Lily J on, that would be comedy gold. Okay, Abby, we have to drink. Who's Lily J?
I have no idea who Lily J is. Baz, who's Lily J? So here's the thing about Abby, because people are like, oh, Carlz, have you seen her latest video? I don't engage with Abby. I don't follow Abby. The only reason I comment on her is when she's entered the mainstream zeitgeist again and she's everywhere. And it's like, it's inescapable. I open X, I open Instagram, and she's everywhere because everyone's reacting. It's the only time I touch on her. I actually I'm not interested in Abby, but I will say this. So when I was in China, right, and she put up that, I'm exhausted. And yet this week just gone, another I'm so exhausted video. And Abby, babe, if you're that exhausted, log off.
Stop making videos. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually really simple. Like when I'm tired from the gym, I go home. I don't stay at the gym, keep working out, mate. You stop.
Wait, hang on. Well, run that past me again. Sorry?
When I'm at the gym.
You lost me in the middle somewhere.
Because you don't understand what a gym is, or?
Well, there's a lot going on. When you get tired, you stop. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about writing a book? I think, well, Abby would buy a copy. I mean, hey, I'll buy a copy and give it to Abby because I think she needs to hear it.
Apparently she's writing her own, which is really interesting. I look forward to lighting cigars with that one. Yeah, I don't know what she's going to write a book about, but I think Abby, she's a good example of our progressive friends who just need to understand when to a little bit more of this and a little bit more of this, right? Like listen, because I think the problem is when you're in these spirals, right? Like the world's ending, climate change, everyone's racist, everything's terrible, and you're just spinning out of control. The more you fight it, the more you spin, right? Just stop, relax, take a breath, listen to someone else. You might find it's actually not all that bad. But one more thing I'll say about her is I think she's a genuine narcissist, and I think she's doing the whole woe is me, I'm a victim thing because she's run out. People are I said this before about woke. People are indifferent to woke now. The more she doubles down on the progressive stuff, no one cares. That's not getting her the clicks anymore. Yeah. So she shifted. The media hates women. Can I just say, guys, if any of you follow her, go and look at one of her latest videos and then look at my contrarian woman video. There are some remarkable similarities. It's almost like Abby watched my video because she's talking about how the media treat women pretty harshly, especially the outspoken ones. I'm like, you mean like this one?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I got to say about Abby.
You mentioned that she's writing a book, and I do feel like, Oddies, you've got my back. I appreciate you. Look, this isn't quite on the same grade as your roast of me, but it is at least a little bit of a reply. So thank you for your help. Is she writing an adult coloring book as well, Carly? Is that the caliber? Is that the level? And hey, it wasn't just one, it was at least two. She writing a coloring book, Carly?
It's probably a line drawing of some hentai to try and sell to some more degenerates. That's probably what it is. It's very niche.
That's a very good idea, actually. I should start working on that.
Do you know what hentai is? You do know what hentai is.
It's like that super sexualized Japanese anime cartoon stuff.
Yes, it's pornographic.
Yeah. I'm aware of its existence. Yes.
G made a joke, and I can't remember what it was. And this is the problem when someone tells me to tell a joke, and then I forget the punchline, and I fuck it up. But it was something about the hentavirus. He's like, it's the hentai virus or something.
Okay. So one of the things that did shock me a little bit in Japan was how in your face the sexualization actually was. Like we walked through these big sort of secondhand stores that were fascinating. They were huge, that have massive sections of like, toy memorabilia because of this massive sort of toy culture. So all the different statues of all the different subcultures, and then you got all the DVDs over here and all this and all that. And there'd just be posters and the statues and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, did I miss the sign that said this was the sex shop section? Like this, like it's really in your face. And I think I've told the story of the very first night we got there, and I made a joke to, we were trying to figure out where we were going to eat, and I made a joke and I pointed over the other side, and there was a sign there for like a massage parlor. And but it was sort of, that was upstairs, and the ground level was one restaurant, and the underneath was another restaurant. She's like, oh yeah, totally, you know. And so we had this big miscommunication around like we're going, hang on, sorry, slow down, wait, you're walking towards that sign that has the very suggestive picture of a masseuse with red lights all around. I'm like, the one with the red lights? She's like, yeah, the one with the red lights. She's talking about the red lights across the top under the eaves. I'm talking about the red lights around the sign. Like, it got very confusing. It's a very suggestive place. So yeah, I'm not surprised that they invented like the world's creepiest pornographic cartoon. That's on brand. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So, Jacinta Allen, door knocking. I shall bring it up for you. I've got a video. I suffer from this terrible affliction, and it's quite debilitating. It's called secondhand embarrassment. And when I see things like this, I'm not okay. I saw this 2 days ago. I'm still in recovery. It's quite difficult for me to do this again, but for you and the Oddcast, I will suffer through it. So, guys, let us look at Jacinta Allen. And can I say,
6 months out from voting day, the Premier...
I don't like Paul Dowsley one iota. But
you've made that fairly clear, yes. He
sure is quite keen on embarrassing Jacinta. So, you know, credit where it's due. That's as nice as I'll be to him. All right.
Is going door to door fighting to save her own seat while her electorate office has been targeted by vandals.
It's a sight and sound that has shocked voters in Jacinta Allen's Bendigo East electorate. The under-pressure Premier door-knocking to secure votes more than 6 months from the election. Karina Brewster got the knock.
Opened the door and she says, oh, hello, I'm Jacinta Allen. And I said, yeah, and I have a no door knocker sign on my door. And she said, oh, anything you want to ask? And I just said, oh, I'm not going there at all.
The Premier told her about discounted car regos.
And I said to her, no, it's on the internet. I said, I can look that up. And pretty much closed the door. Pretty much. Sorry, because I don't like her.
Will you be voting for her?
God, no.
6 months out from voting day, the Premier is going door to door.
It went on, but how embarrassing. But that woman, what a legend. What a legend.
Honestly, this is a great comment. It's not even Halloween. Okay. So I'm sorry to bring it down and be serious. When someone is the leader of the state or even a senior minister, the norm is that your constituents in your seat kind of have to accept that they're not going to see as much of you as they would if you were their MP, but you weren't the Premier or you weren't a senior minister. Like, you've got other responsibilities. For you to be door knocking, that's a one vote at a time, or at most 2 or 3 votes at a time strategy, right? It's time intensive. Think about how much online content you could generate with the same amount of time. Think about how many, town hall meetings, or how many, Rotary clubs and mums groups and what have you could visit in a group setting over and over and over again. You're knocking on doors one at a time. There is a level of, she has to know that she's in deep trouble. Whatever the official polling is, I think their internal polling is worse.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. She knows she's in trouble. And to be fair, so is Jess Wilson. Jess Wilson's at looking like she'll lose her seat as well. So either way,
how good would that be? How good would that be for both the Labor Party and, okay, new objective unlocked. Australia, this is our project. Whatever the overall result of the election is, Jacinta Allen and Jess Wilson both need to lose their seats. That would be amazing.
Yeah, 100%. I think, so look, it's not uncommon for politicians to go door knocking. Like, remember last year, it was during the federal election, Mark Dreyfus or Dreyfus or Doofus.
Mark Dreyfus, yeah. It's not normally the head of the state, though.
No, but to be fair, she's campaigning, and that's kind of, it's not out of it's not unusual behavior. Dan Andrews didn't need to do it because he just bought over the votes and, threatened to break people's bones if they didn't vote for him. But Jacinta's in a lot of trouble because, allegedly. poison chalice and all that kind of stuff. But I think the problem is, and I don't think it would matter if it was Jacinta Allen. I mean, it's particularly bad because of who she is, but the Labor Party has done such terrible things to this city. Even the rusted on Labor supporters are done. And that's what I mean about once the illusion's shattered, you can't get people back on board. So the people who leave Labor this time, they'll never vote Labor again. They've learned. They're being burnt. And where they go, I don't think you're going to see people go from Labor straight to Liberal. I think what you will see is a massive push towards either the independents or One Nation. It really depends how the candidates from One Nation campaign themselves in that local area.
Yeah, it's going to come down to the strength of the individual candidates, whether One Nation can overcome the current media narrative about disarray, blah, blah, blah. I recorded a video on that today that'll go up tomorrow. But also, don't underestimate it relates to what we've been talking about, this kind of once they break away, they're not going to go back, but it's deeper than that. The indignation of you fucking lied to me, right? This is rising now in Victoria, I sense, that even amongst people who aren't particularly political, this isn't about politics. You fucking fraud. You said my life was going to get better. It got worse. You said you were going to fix crime. Crime is completely out of control and it's not being fixed. You said you knew how to run a state. We've got failing hospitals, failing schools, roads falling apart, etc. There is this rising kind of, it's not a how dare you. It's a, what is it? What is that? It's this very animalistic, very visceral, I don't even know. I don't even have a word for that.
I think what you're saying is it's.
Help me out in the comments.
It's a level of betrayal. It's like being cheated on by your partner. It's that kind of like ripping open of your chest where you're just like, you've ruined our city. You've taken away the stability and the safety that we've all known. And we were rooting for you. All I can think of, this is niche, but is Tara in bloody America's Next Top Model. We were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. That's a meme. Surely you know what I'm talking about.
No, I have no idea.
God, I can't remember her name. What's her name? Tara, the bloody supermodel. Anyway.
Tyra Banks?
Tyra Banks, yeah. Tyra Banks. That's what she says. She's
How do I know? How am I the one that knows that? Clearly, I let my wife control the television remote a little too much in my house.
Yeah, but I think there's, like you said, indignation. It's that, but it's also just a deep betrayal. And, you know, like that Hannah Ferguson clip that I played, she's too young, and I'm not saying that to diminish her voice at all, but she's too young to remember the Australia that I remember and that you remember and that boomers remember. Now, obviously, there's a level of romanticization to our memories, but I never, ever was fearful of being stabbed by a machete. That was never in my line of thought. I never ever thought someone would have the audacity to break into my home and steal our car. You know, these are new norms. And not only that, like, thank God, I mean, I'm trying to find some wood to touch, but carjackings are now so prevalent in Victoria, they don't even make the news anymore. This is normal. Carjackings where you're already in the vehicle and the assailant comes in, kicks you out with a weapon, like threatens you with a weapon and steals your car. That's South African third world shit here in Victoria. And then you get Jacinta Allen going on the news going, Melbourne's the safest city. We've got adult time for violent crime, the toughest bail laws. You know she's lying. She's blatantly lying. And Albo does the same thing. We're not going to change capital gains tax. We're not going to do any tax reforms. Next minute, oh, we changed our mind. No, you fucking lied. You lied. We voted no to the voice, and Jacinta Allen puts in a treaty. Victoria unanimously voted no. We said no.
You're not unanimously, but overwhelmingly, yes.
Yeah. You've gone against what the constituents and the voters want. And so it's very evident and it's very clear to anyone with two functioning brain cells that what they say is not what they mean. They have a vendetta. They think they have this mandate to do whatever they want. and not at the will of the people. The whole point of democracy, which they keep banging on about and how they want to protect it, is that we vote for the people who are going to enact our wishes, not that we vote for you so that you get power and then go, actually, I'm going to do what I want. Sorry, guys.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, they are our servants. They are elected to ensure that the government serves our agenda. But what's happened is somehow we've accepted this norm, this idea that they come to us with their agenda and we have to pick between those two agendas. That was never how it was supposed to be. They were supposed to be competing to convince us that they would better help us and aid us, not help us with taxes and so forth, but better facilitate by getting out of the way and making sure that we're able to operate our agenda, that I can live the life that I want to live as an Australian, as long as I'm not hurting anyone else, and that you can do the same, Carly. And now we've bought into this idea that they're going to basically auction. It's like a slave auction, but you're using the slaves' money to buy them. If that makes sense, it's like we'll take the money out of your pocket and then I'll use that to convince you. Oh yeah, no, I outbid everybody else. I won over here. Look, I'm looking after you with all this money. Yeah, the money came from me, buddy. Like you haven't done me a favor, and I didn't ask to have a slave lord in the first place. So seething rage, I think is. I went through all the comments that were trying to nail down the phrase I'm looking for, and it still doesn't quite get it, because there is a level of betrayal in there. There is a but betrayal's almost not even enough. Like it's not even family, husband, wife. It's not even at that level. It's like, imagine two soldiers who have been through hell together in the trenches for months on end, and then you discover that the other man who you thought was your blood brother has actually been a spy for the enemy the whole time. Like it's like the trust was so deep, and people have I talk about this in my books. People put government in a position of God, and we've done that as a culture. We've given government this status of a deity, the level of trust. In a survey, we will say we don't trust politicians, but in practice, when a politician comes out and says something, we are lining up to do exactly what we're told. It's absurd. And finally, that trust has been broken one too many times. It's been broken so many times. But finally, that sense of, no, you've betrayed me for the last time. It's seething rage, but it's because you've betrayed me for the last time. And it's a realization that in order for this to be the last time, I'm the one that has to change. This isn't about me changing you. This is about me changing me and the decisions that I make so that you can never betray me again. I still don't quite have the words for it, but that's what I believe is rising across Victoria. Someone made the comment earlier, Husey has flipped, right? Now, okay, like all these celebrities, he's only flipped on certain issues, blah, 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 but he's sticking his neck out now. What's her name? The Boost Juice lady. She's stuck her neck out. Right? Now, sure, do I resent the fact that these people stayed silent when it mattered during COVID, blah, blah, blah? Yes, I do. 100% I do. Am I going to put them in the same category as people that have been consistently speaking out all the way through? Of course not. That would be stupid. But am I glad to have them add their voices to ours, as late as they may be to the party? Yeah, 100%. 100%. And this rising rage is now becoming a tide that's kind of catching and sweeping people. And I genuinely think we could see really new records, history being made in the November Victorian election. I think the anger is just that hot.
I think so too. And I've got a whole bunch of clips that I wanted to show you. There's not so much heaps of stories, like news stories today, but I've been collecting these clips, and I've mentioned to you before about Spencer Pratt. So I want to get to that in a second, because he's running a really amazing grassroots campaign. But
so good.
You were speaking about rage. That is a really good example. I just put up a video before about woke, and I've got a 7-part series that I wrote this weekend about where woke originated from. And it's actually cultural. It's just cultural Marxism rebranded.
Repackaged.
That's all it is. It's the same ideology that was rotten since the day Karl Marx wrote it. And what happens, I keep saying this whole thing, like once the illusion's broken, it's a bit like, do you remember back in the 90s, there was that TV show, it was behind the scenes of The Magician, and they showed you all the tricks. And they're like, oh, you know, this is how they cut you in half. And, you know, and it ruined it for me. I can never look at an illusionist
Why
again.
did you watch that show? Yeah.
I was like, this sucks. And like, when you watch it, you're like, well, damn. You know, it's actually just sleight of hand, right, with a lot of it. And that's exactly what's happening. You know, for a while there, they had that social media wave of, you know, they had everyone sitting at home in COVID. That's when woke really came to the forefront. And so people were just sitting there glued to their phones, and people were in a social media
Do you mean because we all became childless lords sitting in high towers musing on heraldry?
Every time. Were you getting dry? Venezuela.
Every damn time. Yeah.
Naya Bouquet. Bouquet. Oh, fuck knows.
I don't know. Once you're drunk enough, they're all the same.
Whatever. But you're talking about rage, right? It's really easy to go along with that stuff when you've got no investment. So I've said this before, but the whole COVID thing, right? Most people were not totally impacted by COVID. Yes, a big contingent of people were. Most people weren't. That's why COVID went as long as it did, because people were like, oh, it's not so bad. I get to stay at home in my pajamas and drink wine during the day. You know, like, it's not that bad. They didn't have any skin in the game. It's different this time round, right? And the skin's different for everyone. It's no longer COVID. It's now, okay, so all of your investment strategies that you've been told for the last 40 years to set up, the government's now looking at reversing. And not only are you going to lose, 50% or, 50% of your capital gains when you sell your business, Albo's maybe doing tax on death. Maybe he's going to dip into our super. Like, there's all these things, right? And so they've gone along with it to a certain point where they're like, what the fuck? I was on your side. You've just stabbed me in the back, bro. That's what it is. And you cannot fix that. And this is the thing that I don't think Labor's really come to terms with yet, particularly Albo. You cannot fix this betrayal. It's Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, right?
Yeah,
you
correct.
cannot put him back together again.
No. Okay, so I'm with James. Penn and Teller, and how they did their show is phenomenal. So they did their show Fool Me, and they have other people come on, try and fool them, and you're trying to figure out what are they doing, and sometimes you succeed, sometimes you don't. Sometimes they have that weird conversation where they're telling the magician that they know how the magician did it without revealing it to the crowd, and then after you've watched the show for long enough, you're like, oh no, I understand this language now. I know exactly what they're saying. But at the end, they would do a trick of their own. And exactly as James describes, they would tell you how the trick is done, and then they would proceed to redo the trick in a way that couldn't possibly have been done in the way that they described. And so they still leave you with that sense of wonder and mystery. You're like, okay, so I know how that trick can be done, but that ain't how they just did it. And I don't know how they just did it. So I think they were the masters. And I think it's Penn Jillette, I think his name is a libertarian and is quite outspoken, has been at times. A really, really cool guy. I you know what? I should give him a call while I'm in America. Just, have a catch up with Penn.
Chat.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you a clip here from Claire O'Neill. So she's a federal minister. I think she's our Minister for Housing under Albo.
Okay.
So I'm going to play you the first one, right? This is not the flex she thought it was. She thought she was owning it with this. You ready?
This is going to be $3 billion. This is going to be
all right. So she's written, if Pauline doesn't approve, I might be on the right track. And wowee. Other comments telling people just like, that's pretty much how everyone in Australia feels, Dal. That's the look of most of the nation. Not the flex you thought it was. That's what I wrote. And so it's telling, right? Like, these comments are telling you exactly how people feel. Like, what are you talking about? But this one's the one that I think really pissed people off. So let me play this for you.
Or someone who is, I want you to listen and I want you to share this. You raised your family here, you paid taxes here, you built a life here, and now Angus Taylor wants to kick you off social supports. That means no pension, no aged care, no NDIS. It's ugly scapegoating politics and it's wrong. They're trying to blame the problems facing this country on you. You follow the rules, you've been here for years, you've paid taxes into this system, and now the coalition's trying to tell you that you don't belong. Go and have a look at what's been said. If they win the election, this is what the coalition are planning to do. So make sure you get your head around this and share it with your family and friends. And those citizenship forms you've been meaning to fill in for a decade, I reckon now's the time.
So she's encouraging people to go for citizenship so that they get access to NDIS and welfare. Yeah. Like, she's saying the quiet part out loud. And again, the comments are telling, get your citizenship and vote One Nation. We have $1 trillion debt. And if you're not Australian, you should get nothing. Labor has destroyed our once great country. People are outraged by this. She's saying that she's so comfortable in her position that she thought that was a flex. That's where they're at. They honestly think they're doing the right thing.
I think what's happening is increasingly people are willing to call out the reality of what a politician is saying, not the intentions of what a politician is saying. For a long time, politicians, I think in Australia, more so than the US and probably more so than the UK as well, they've been used to getting away with whatever they want to say. As long as they say it the right way, so it's clear what their intention is, then the media will just kind of repeat what they said, repeat the press release, kind of parrot a little bit. Everyone gets their information from the nightly news and kind of goes along with it because, oh, that sounds like a good intention. Nowadays, in the age of social media, there's a lot more critique going on. There's a lot more back and forth, a lot more people actually breaking down what's been said. People aren't getting all their information from the nightly news. And now all of a sudden, people are actually looking at what a policy does rather than just what a politician intends. And I think there's now just this groundswell of willingness to just call it out publicly. Just say, that's bullshit. That's not even going to do what you say it's going to do. I don't care what your good intentions are. That policy is terrible. There's a willingness to do that now that didn't exist when I started 17 years ago.
So you mentioned Hughesy before, and I'm going to play you one of his videos, and we're going to talk about people coming out of the woodwork. Hughesy, we know, was a raging lefty. He has been for a very long time. And I'm going to play you,
on the jabs.
Terrible on the jabs. He openly says he voted for Dan Andrews. He voted for Albo and Chalmers.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, he's realized, hang on a minute, there's consequences to your actions. So I'm going to play this video.
Walking down the street here in Brisbane, and a business owner comes out of his business and goes, he shakes his head, and I said, "You're talking about the budget?" He goes, "Yeah." He said, capital gains tax increase has killed him. Got 100 staff, doesn't know what he's going to do, just has no motivation anymore. He also said that negative gearing wasn't his issue, which it's not mine either. I've never negative geared a property. I've never worked it out. So,
lucky
but
that
you know what?
Dave.
The capital gains tax, if I had have known they were going to do that, I wouldn't have voted for them. I voted for Albo and Chalmers. They didn't have a mandate for changing capital gains tax. It's now the highest in the world. No one is going to want to invest in Australia. What the fuck are you doing? And this affects every working Australian, everyone who actually pays tax, because we all have to have super, which is investments, and you've just doubled the fucking take on it to waste because you're fucking incompetent. The bumbling, fumbling, idiotic responses when questioned this week by both Albo and Chalmers and every other minister in that fucking stupid government just solidified the fact we need another election, because you didn't have a mandate for it. You didn't have a mandate for it. You lied blatantly, so it's not valid. So let's go to polls again.
Okay, so
tell us what you really think, Hughesy.
Yeah, you mentioned rage. That's a rusted on a Labor voter right there.
I knew I was right. I didn't realize I was that right.
Yeah, you heard him. You're stupid, incompetent ministers in your government. He's basically saying they're all incompetent. Well, Hughesy, the election was only, 12 months ago? Like, not even? When was the election? It was May last year, right?
It was May last year, so it's, right, it's just on 12 months now.
Sorry, Hughesy, not a whole lot's changed. We had 3 years of Albo. You already saw. We saw a failed referendum that cost $500 million. We saw him fumble the last budget, and yet you voted for him anyway. We've seen Labor in Victoria have a chokehold on this state for 2 decades. You've seen Daniel Andrews rack up $100 billion worth of debt, and Jacinta Allen, in her short tenure, has doubled it to $200 billion, and you voted for them. What did you expect? If it looks like a duck, if it quacks like a fucking duck, it's probably a duck, correct? So this is the thing.
I thought you were going a different direction there.
I was going to go somewhere else, but I was like, now just hit him. But this is the thing. Great, Hughesy's been vocal all of a sudden, and everyone's like, wow, so brave of you. Is it fucking brave? Do you really need a celebrity to tell you the blatant, obvious truth? What is so profound about this? He's just a pissed off Labor voter who's all of a sudden not getting what he wants. That didn't stop him from voting for Labor the last however many elections he's voted Labor. Their policies haven't changed a whole lot. We've got a track record of what happens when Labor gets into power. We saw it here in Victoria, and you chose, hey, Daniel Andrews has run Victoria into the ground. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to vote for his best mate federally, and I'm going to have a second term of Albo.
So you notice I got comfortable there. I really thought you had a lot more of a head of steam up. I thought you were going to keep going for a bit longer.
I was trying to hold it back. I could have kept going.
But actually, we do actually need to have a bit of a conversation here. And there's 1,130 people watching, and all of you have friends and family. So I think this is a valuable conversation for us to have, and for each of you to think about. And if you think I'm wrong or Carly's wrong, or we might disagree, I don't know, jump in the comments, because I think this is actually a really valuable conversation to have. There is an unfortunate reality. So one of the chapters in my book is, it sucks to be right early, but that's the only time it matters, right? If you're right, but so is everybody else, well, you're not making much of a difference. The only time it matters for you to be right is when you're right, when most other people are wrong. And that means you're right early. Later, everyone goes, oh, you were right. You go, well, yeah, well, where were you, right? It sucked being right early, but that's the only time it matters. So here's the funny thing. If you're someone who has a habit of being right early, and I'm not always right, I proved that today, but I've got a pretty good track record of being pretty right a lot of the time, and pretty early a lot of the time, that means you have to deal with this reality of the world coming to realize that you were right. And what do you do with the people who were wrong? Because if you want to play the I told you so game, you're going to have a lonely life. You will feel good about yourself, but you will never build a movement. You will never build a coalition, and you're going to struggle to actually get things done, because you're basically going to be being an asshole to people all of the time. Now, maybe they deserve it. Maybe they deserve it, but that's the reality. You are going to be alone a lot of the time. So I think we need to figure out whether there's some sort of a framework, but I think we need to have a think about, what does it take for us, those of us who were right early, to actually welcome a newcomer, someone who was wrong early. By definition, they weren't one of us. They weren't a part of us. And how do we do that? This is really the crux of it, in a way that doesn't then lead to dilution. So I'll use the example of liberals jumping ship into One Nation, right? Now, Malcolm Roberts was right early. Pauline Hanson was right early. James Ashby was right early. A handful of others were right early. Now, everyone else jumping on board, they're not right early anymore. They're riding a wave. So we need them. We need these they're not going to get elected if we don't have people join them who used to be opposed to them. They're not going to have enough candidates if we don't have people putting up their hand who 3 years ago would never have voted for One Nation. Now they're saying, hey, I want to run for One Nation. We need those people. You can't build a movement without the people who came after. But how do you do that without that then diluting? Some people argue, for example, that reform in the UK have been completely watered down beyond all usefulness. I actually disagree, but that is a perspective that a lot of people hold. Some people are concerned the same thing will happen to One Nation. How do we balance this? I genuinely don't have an answer. I'm going to read all the comments, and I'd love to get your thoughts, Carly.
I do have an answer for this, right? Because I mentioned Hannah Ferguson to G, and we were having a conversation in the car, and his comment was, I don't know why you'd bother. Like, what are you going to get out of it? And he's right. Like, because typically we've seen that exchange. Like, imagine me going up against Abby. There's no way she's going to let me speak, right? But there has to be breakthrough, because if we look at Hannah's thing, even though she sees the world completely differently to you and I, she's also pissed off. There is some common ground there. She's pissed off because she's a generation younger than me, and she thinks that her future has been eroded by complete inaction from the Albanese government. She actually thinks Albanese needs to go harder down the socialist route, okay? I'm paraphrasing, but she is a very progressive person. Whereas I think the opposite. I'm like, get Albo out of the way. Get whole of the government out of the way. Leave it to the small business owners. Leave it to the business owners to lead this country back to where we go, where we need to go. Let the people who can rebuild Melbourne just go for it. But, government bureaucracy is in the way. And so the answer to this is, it's really simple. Stop trying to win every argument. Stop trying to go into a discussion as if you're going to own that person. Because, this is the thing. This is kind of what happened to you today. We're not always right. As much as I love to think I'm always right, as much as I love to think I have all the answers, there are often things that I haven't been exposed to because I don't live in that realm, right? Sure. So you talk about your progressives, right? The people who, I'm just going to pull something out of thin air, LGBT, right? Sure. LGBT, They did actually have a really hard time in the 70s and 60s, right? There was a lot of homophobia. There were people being lynched for being homosexual, right? So there is history there. And I'm not part of that history. I'm not homosexual, okay? So there is, for people who are now in their 50s and 60s who came out early or had to be in the closet, there obviously there's some trauma to that, right? So when people say that, oh, you know, we don't take LGBT seriously enough, okay, there's a grain of salt to that. And you guys are going to get in the comments and go, this is bullshit. No,
there was a lot of truth to it. Is there still truth to it today?
Exactly. So this is what I notice when people argue. You immediately try to either eradicate or diminish that person's perspective. Well, here's the thing. If we're going to sit here and have a discussion about wokeism and we choose the LGBTQIA plus, whatever the fuck it is, I can't sit there and say, you guys are fine, you're not marginalized, you're not oppressed, to a 60-year-old gay man. Because he genuinely was. And God knows what he went through, okay? So invalidating someone's experience and life experience, that's a sure way to just, everyone gets defensive. You don't fucking understand what I went through, you don't know. And it's the same for me. I'm a small business owner, okay? I've had a small business for almost 20 years. This is what I'm up against. Oh, you think you work hard, you're all rich, all you business owners, you need to pay more tax. It's the same thing. It's the exact same way that we argue with each other. So how do we bridge this gap? Stop trying to win the argument and just listen to people. Don't listen to respond. Just listen and just full stop it. That's it. Because they do have some valid points. The left aren't always wrong about everything. And the same with the right. And the more we keep calling each other woke lefties, and by the way, I'm guilty of this. I do it myself.
I was about to point that out.
No, I'm open to my hypocrisy. That's just out of frustration. But, they're crazy woke lefties or they're far right extremists. That rhetoric has to die. The politicians are never going to let that die. But we, your average people, we can let it die. Because truly, 10, 15 years ago, when you're in your workplace, you weren't asking your colleague, hey, who do you fuck at night? What genitals do you have? None of that existed. This has all been an invention of modern politics. And so we can fix it by just not playing into it anymore.
So I agree with you on trying to avoid the whole left versus right thing, but I've actually started to use that more over time, partly just out of exhaustion. I don't actually accept it. I genuinely don't. I don't see a difference between your hard left and your hard right. And it's not so much horseshoe theory. There's kind of this, this sort of, you've got the left and the right, and then eventually they fold around to each other and they become the same thing. No, it's not that. I view it in two dimensions rather than one. This isn't a single dimensional spectrum. I'm on the spectrum. There's also there's your left and right really are about, the left believe in personal freedom and economic slavery. The right believe in less economic slavery, but less personal freedom as well. There's actually this thing where we don't believe in any kind of slavery, and we actually just believe in freedom across the board, which comes with responsibility, by the way. That's the number one thing people get wrong with libertarianism, is they think that it's libertine or hedonism, where there are no consequences. You should be able to do whatever you want and not pay the price. No. That's not libertarian. Libertarian says, as long as you're not hurting anyone else, because then you're imposing a cost on them and they can hold you accountable, as long as you're not hurting anybody else, you can do what you want, but the price is yours. That's the libertarian position. And so left versus right is not accurate. It doesn't actually encapsulate it. But for years, literally for over a decade, I included this as a regular part of my content. And then just out of sheer exhaustion, I've kind of given up. And I now people go, oh, you're right wing. Like, I'm not. But
that's the fatigue, though. That's fatigue setting in.
It
makes sense.
Like, I'm anti-war. I'm anti-drug war. Very, very happy with the legalization of drugs. I'm in favor of the free movement, not only of goods and services and capital and investment, but also of people. Like, these are positions that the right don't agree with me on. Ask me how I know, right? They don't like a lot of my positions. And yet somehow I'm right-wing. And I kind of have to sit there and go, well, I kind of wear it, because I'm certainly not left-wing. Like, I'm not a big taxing, big welfare state commie. So it's just out of sheer exhaustion, I've stopped arguing.
Yeah, I understand that too. And like I said before, I'm well aware of my hypocrisy when I say don't call them raging lefties. that does come out of fatigue because, at the core of this, we've been doing this. You've been politically commentating for 16, 17 years. I've been outspoken since just before COVID. And I've also been in the arts industry my whole career. I am fatigued by it because it got progressively worse for me. It went from me being a very average middle class liberal voter and when I was young, going into university, then going into the publishing industry, then going into the music industry, and then going into the fashion industry, and realizing the horizon kept shifting. There was an expectation that I just accept this was the narrative. I'll give it a different example because I don't want to keep using wokeism. Let's use drugs, okay? So you said just before,
hey, I'm all in. What did you have in mind? Let's use drugs.
Yeah.
What do you got?
And I've said this before, and this has not been me being pious or putting myself on a podium. I've never done any drugs. I don't drink alcohol. I just don't. That's it. I can't tell you why. I think my parents did a really good job of terrifying me of taking ecstasy. And now in my mind, the first drug I take will be laced with fentanyl and I'll die. Right? That's how my brain
explode.
works.
Yeah.
And so, I've been around plenty of drugs. One of my best mates was a drug dealer in uni. Had to make that cash. And this is the thing. All of my friends know this about me. I don't sit there all pious and, clutch my pearls when they're doing their drugs going, don't do your drugs. I don't give a fuck. Sure. You do your drugs. I don't care.
Yeah.
And it only started to really bother me. It was never really the drugs. I never really had the peer pressure to do drugs. It was more like, people kind of know, don't put that in front of Carlz. She doesn't like it. Don't do that to her.
Yeah.
Don't smoke.
Yeah.
You know what I hate more than anything is weed. I hate the smell of weed. That's why I don't want it legalized. Not because I don't think you should be able to do it. Hey?
I don't understand that. The only time I don't want someone smoking weed is when I've got a cigar. But to be fair, I don't want anyone breathing near me when I've got a cigar. Don't you dare taint that cigar smell.
For me, the smell of marijuana, last time I was in San Francisco, I couldn't stand it. It's just a smell I don't like. But, so that was always the thing. My friends don't smoke around Carlz. She hates it. Thank you. I respect that. Where I got the peer pressure was a little bit later in my adult life, where it was just the sly comments because everyone drinks, right? It's a known thing. Most people will have an alcoholic drink. I don't. And I was too young to be asked, "Oh, are you pregnant?" That didn't start straight away. It was "Oh, are you having some issues?" Or why are you so uptight, Carly? Why are you so uptight? And then it progressed to, "Oh, are you expecting? Is that why?" Or "Oh, are you recovering?" It was never just I didn't want to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so in this discussion around alcohol and drugs, I have been in that environment and seen plenty of people do drugs, plenty of people drunk, and I don't care. You do you. But the expectation on me to participate or you're fucking weird because you don't. It's the same with politics. It's this is the libertarian attitude. I don't care what you do, so long as it doesn't impact me. But all of a sudden, where we got offside is the wokeness became like the peer pressure you got as a teenager. Why won't you do it? Why won't you take it on? What's wrong with you? And it's oh shit. And that's what I attribute it to. The kids doing the smoking behind the shed. Oh shit, I want to be cool. That's what wokeness became. I want to be accepted.
Can I suggest a slight adjustment to the language that you use there? You said, as a libertarian, I don't care what you do as long as it doesn't affect me. That's accurate, but it doesn't encapsulate the entirety. What I think is much more helpful is I don't care what you do as long as it doesn't affect others involuntarily, right?
Yeah,
because otherwise,
really
because people just say, well, you're just being selfish, Carly. You just think it's all about you. And this is one of my bugbears. I come up against this all the time when I advocate for less regulation, less tax, blah, blah, blah. Oh, you think the rules shouldn't apply to you. No. I don't think those rules should apply to anybody. I don't think those rules should exist. Don't try and pretend that I'm being selfish. I'm sticking my neck out on behalf of people who won't even say thank you. They'll hate me for it. I don't think those rules should exist. I just think that's a useful adjustment to language that sort of takes away an easy angle of attack.
Yeah, that's fair. And so, I come back to Hannah Ferguson. If we ever have this conversation, I hope we do. I don't know if she'll ever watch this, but I really do hope we do, because this is the thing that really pisses me off about this whole far right thing. Oh, you're far right. I'm actually not. I'm not even conservative. There's two things that I'm conservative on, and that is incarceration. I'm very much of the Nayab Bukali method. Financially, I'm quite conservative fiscally.
Yeah.
But by all other stretches of the imagination,
I'd say you're pretty conservative on immigration as well. I would for you, because we're quite different on that. I'd say you're probably leaning conservative on that.
Yeah, they're probably the few things that I am. You could say I'm probably conservative on, but for everything else, like I don't want to see a repeal of the rights that we give to gay people. I don't want people to I don't want that at all. But the thing is, because there's these blanks there, people just go, oh, you don't agree with this, then you believe all of that. It's like this whole fascist rhetoric. If you're not far left, you're a fascist or you're a Nazi.
Yeah.
How is this helpful to any of us?
All right. So I want to just comment on this comment here from Michelle XS4E. All herbs are for healing. I think God knows more than you. I tend to agree. And, a lot of people struggle with the idea that I'm a hardline libertarian and also a pretty hardline Christian. And people go, well, that you can't be both of those. No, I strongly disagree. In fact, it was the more I read my Bible, the more libertarian I became. As you start to understand God's creation and God's design and God's order and God's intent for how he wants to have a relationship with each and every one of us, you become hardcore libertarian if you read it for long enough. That's my opinion anyway. And absolutely, I used to struggle with the fact because I used to be a conservative. I was in favor of banning tobacco and raising the age of the ban by 1 year every year so that eventually it would just get phased out. I was in favor of that. I was in favor of the death penalty for people who were running, cocaine and hard drugs and that sort of stuff. Totally against taking drugs, in favor of the drug war. When I was younger, I didn't see an overseas war I didn't like. Iraq, whatever. Yeah, great, go for it. Go get them. I was all of those. I was a conservative. I was all of those things. And yet, the more I began to read the Bible, which my conservative upbringing told me was the source of truth, the more I went, hang on, I don't think we should be doing those conservative things. I don't think that conservative thing actually fits within the Bible. So I'm starting to be pushed to the point where I have to choose between one or the other. And I'm sorry, but if you're a conservative Christian, then let's talk. I think there's some work to be done there.
Look, I don't have the religious element to it. I mean, I grew up with the Bible. I know enough about it. But for me, it's like I've got this new thing and I can't get this out of my head. It's friction. I want a life without friction. And I don't mean a life without hardship. That's not what I'm saying. As in, if it feels like I have to perform or I have to go against what feels inherently natural, then that's a friction. And with a lot of these progressive policies, with a lot of these new government plans, there is this friction where it feels fundamentally, ideologically, and innately wrong to me. Instinctually, it makes me go, ugh, right? And I think there is, I get a bit spiritual woo-woo at times. I think we have been so disconnected from our innate intuition that we no longer use our internal mechanisms to kind of come up with that, make our decisions. We outsource it all the time. Now, you could call that God, I call it the universe, whatever. But we do possess in ourselves that inner compass, that intuition, that, whether it's faith-based or whether it's values-based or it's your life experience, you do have that internal compass. And I think most people right now, that's actually what they're reconciling with. It's no longer, like I said, it's not about left and right anymore. It's people looking at that inner compass and they know, no, you're facing north. You're like, but I'm not. I'm facing fucking south. And it's like, no, but you're facing north. We know because there's a friction there. Every time they try and announce these new policies to get you on board, or if they just blatantly gaslight you to get you on board, you feel it. And so I want a life without friction. And for me, that means I want to do the things that feel innately human. And what feels innately human to me is community. Is to be connected to people, to be I'm a really chatty person. I don't know if you've noticed this about me. I can talk.
No, I had no idea. No idea.
I didn't think you would. Spoiler alert, everyone, I'm a chatty person. I'll talk to anyone. I don't give a shit who you are. The other day I was talking to this person who was trans and non-binary, and I don't go, hi, I'm Carly and blah. Hey, how's it going? How's your day going? Yeah, really good, thanks. We had a great chat. And that was it. I walked away. That's it, end of the story. There was no harsh words. We didn't sit there and debate policies because, quite frankly, I just hope that they're happy. That's it. For me, I hope that you're happy. Where I get off board with the trans stuff is, hey, now trans women, did I get the right way around? Men who go to women should be allowed in women's spaces. That was when I go, hey, whoa, get fucked. No, that's friction for me. And that's what I'm trying to explain. For me, when things like that are like, no, you have to accept this. This means that you love people. That's that suicidal empathy, right? Fuck that. Yeah. I don't agree with that. Whatever. There's friction there. I know that man who is dressed as a woman has no right in a woman's change room. That's friction.
Okay, 3 fingers. That's what Carly needs to get her attention. Carly, I am going to be at a conference where Gad Saad is going to be one of the speakers, and I am hoping to meet him.
I love Gad Saad. I've messaged him quite a few times on Instagram. I think he's fantastic.
I'm sure he's replied to every single one, just like I reply to all of my Instagram messages.
He has replied.
Has he? Oh, yes. Very cool. Okay. Well, then he's better. He's a better man than me. I almost never, ever reply. I'm sorry. Instagram is not my platform.
Who wouldn't reply to this gorgeous face? Come on.
Moving on. So I'm going to meet Gad Saad at the first conference, actually the very first few days that I'm in the US, the Carlz Gulch conference run by the Atlas Society. I will be there. He will be there. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we're going to be able to meet up at some point and say hi. And hopefully, my hope is, I don't know if it'll be him or others, but each of the conferences I'm going to, there are other people on the speaker list. And I'm like, you and you and you and you and blah, blah, blah. Hopefully, in the not too distant future, we'll be able to get 1 or 2 of them for a segment on the Oddcast. Probably not live because it's a very inhospitable time in the US, but probably as a pre-record. So I'm like, wish me luck, everybody. Gad Saad is on my hit list. No, not that kind of hit list. They're like the guest hit list.
So we were sort of talking before about how do we bridge that gap? How do we bring people back into the fold? And something I've talked about at length is academia, because we know that the Marxists took over the institutions, both the government agencies and institutions. They took over academia. And what we're pumping out now is not educated people. And we know this. We can see this, right? Whether it's DEI or they've been indoctrinated to be Marxists, want to be socialists. There are very few places left where people can get a genuine education. Education is meant to teach you how to think, not what to think. And I know this from my time in academia, and I see this now with a lot of the people that I face in discussions, whether on Instagram or in person, who are educated. You're not educated at all. You actually don't know how to think. You've come out indoctrinated because you're not able to a good academic will take 2 lines of thinking and be able to argue both one at any given time. That's a true academic. They might agree with one more than the other, but they should be able to hold both kind of thoughts and argue them back and forth. And then they come out and go, well, this is what the science says, or this is what the data says, but hey, it's still open to interpretation. We don't have that anymore. And you call that critical thinking. Where do people learn those valuable lessons now? Parents aren't teaching them. Teachers aren't teaching them. Academic lecturers and professors aren't teaching them. So you've got a generation of kids who actually don't know how to think. And that's not me being disparaging. That's just genuinely, they don't know how to think. What they do is parrot. They parrot like kids parrot. They see the adult with the behavior, so they emulate it. So I think education is really important now. What?
Carlz,
what
would you know? You don't have a PhD, okay?
I don't.
So back in your box, sit in the corner, keep your opinions to yourself until you are qualified to tell us what you think.
You know what? I will get a PhD and it still won't be enough. I don't even know what comes after a PhD. Is that a...
Neither do I, but you're absolutely right. It will not be enough.
What do they call it when you get like a tenure at, is it a residency or whatever?
Yeah, you'd be like a professor or whatever. All right, so after a thorough investigation worth exactly $10, coincidentally the same cost as this post, but I'm sure that's unrelated, we've decided that you're center right now. Don't resist. Carlz, congratulations. You're the bonus DLC.
I don't even know what that means.
Downloadable content. It means I'm the main game and you're like the accessory on the side. If you get a bit bored with the main game, they spice it up a little bit with the DLC. It makes perfect sense. I'm liking this.
Big talk? I don't know. This is unfamiliar territory for me.
Now, are you going to bring up this campaign, this political campaign? I'll see if I can talk about it in obtuse enough terms so that everyone else has no idea what I'm talking about. This political campaign that proved me right in one of my suggestions about what we should do about the chicken in the noodle aisle, the rising grot in Victoria. Are we going to talk about that?
I have it right here. It's funny you say that.
And you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's my favorite thing about you, Carlz. You can interpret.
Oh, I'm not silly. I mean, I wasn't born yesterday, but I was born the day before. Here we go. Spencer Pratt. Actually, before I show you this, let me just preface it all. So Spencer Pratt, for those who don't know, is currently going up against Karen Bass in the mayoral race in LA. Why does this matter? It matters for a couple of reasons. I think this is my personal opinion. I'm not a political commentator, just my assessment. I think Spencer Pratt is one of the best populist campaigns I've ever seen. He is doing it exactly how it needs to be done. He is doing the 30,000-foot view that I always talk about, right? No longer left, right, the Democrats this, the Republicans that. He's like, fuck your politics. What about safety? What about common sense? What about being able to take your children to the park and not have to step over heroin needles? What about not getting mugged, you know? And so Topher had this whole thing. It's overrated. So I think what Spencer Pratt's doing is amazing. But what's so funny for this, and this is, again, niche content, but Spencer Pratt was the villain from a reality TV show that I grew up with. And it is such a hard thing to reconcile with that all of a sudden I'm like Team Pratt because I grew up hating this man.
But you grew up hating him because the script told you to.
No, he was a jerk. He genuinely was. But to be fair, I think a lot of boys.
Or did he get the villain edit?
No. He was actually a bit of a dick. But I think most men in their 20s are dicks, to be fair. Women are too. I think when you're young.
How dare you?
Oh,
just because it's true doesn't mean you have to say it.
I've seen that Martin Bryant hairdo of yours. You were absolutely an obnoxious dick at some point.
I was an obnoxious dick, and you know, it's funny to look back, and I now understand why grown-ups were so patient with me when I really didn't deserve it, and it's because they looked at me and went, "Yep, I remember when I was also an absolute dick." And now I'm at that age where, you know, I meet younger people and I'm like, yeah, he's in his dick stage.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't say what I want to say. I'll do this instead. But yeah, I kind of the circle of life thing. Yeah, I'm starting to get it now.
100%. And this is why I actually empathize with a lot of the young progressives. I'm like, oh, yeah, I was there once. Not as a progressive, but yeah, I thought I knew everything once. I was a little know-it-all. I don't know if you can see that in me, but I was like,
It's unbelievable, Carlz. Can we get to the bit with the really satisfying pressure washing? Because my autism is going off the charts and I need some. Here we go.
All right. So hang on. I've got to turn the sound off, sorry, so we don't get copyrighted. Hang on. There we go. I think this is brilliant. Fucking amazing. Look how dirty the streets are.
Okay, so the stencil said is imagine if all the streets were this clean, right? Or words to that effect. Listen, hang on, here, what does it say? Imagine if the streets were this clean. Yeah, Spencer Pratt. Now, nice timing on the pause there, Carly. Well done. Can I just make the point that I suggested exactly this as a campaign in Victoria? Right? Bring a pressure washer. I don't know if there's such a thing as a battery-powered pressure washer, but hey, invent one if you have to. Come along with a pressure washer and a stencil, and I don't know, just like fuck Dan Andrews or whatever it is that you want to do. Like, just find all of the grotty, grimy footpaths around Melbourne that have not been maintained. Mow it into your lawn and take a photograph from space. I don't care. Just find a way to put it into the landscape.
Funny you say that because I and a certain Melbourne billionaire have been chatting about just this situation.
Just casually chatting with Melbourne billionaires now, are we, Carly?
Oh, what can I say? You are the company you keep.
That's what happens when you get known to be an associate of Topher Field. Oh, those Melbourne billionaires really come out of the woodwork.
No, I'm doing the whole you are the sum of the 5 people you hang around. So I figure if I hang around 4 billionaires, I am, by default.
Right. So you've made it your mission in life to bring other people down. That's the sum of what you're saying. Yeah.
No. So obviously you guys know I was having a chat to Adrian Portelli about this, and he, I brought it up, I think it was last week or the week before, an actual Labor MP went into Parliament to talk about LMCT Plus and the petrol station, and he used an argument about traffic because, you know, an opening of a new store and there's some excitement in a small suburb is something to read about in Parliament. Talk about clutching the bloody pearls, right? And the funny thing is, he used it as a gateway, as a Trojan horse. He's like, oh, we need to talk about the traffic that my constituents are worried about because they can't get into their driveways. But while we're there, maybe we need to close the gambling loopholes so that LMCT Plus can't operate in Victoria. That's where he went with it. So Adrian's obviously pissed, and I love him because he openly says, I'm petty. I'm petty as fuck.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate the honesty and the self-awareness. So we've been having a chat about what can we do in the lead up to the election to get people in Melbourne just to get out of their stupor. And look, it's not hard. People are already pissed.
No. Yeah, people are pissed, rising anger.
I had an idea, and, you know, you guys can help me soundboard this right now. I give the youth a really hard time. Youth crime, you know, their delinquency, and also just their general apathetic attitude. And that's not even including the people that live north of the river. But we can't keep going, it's them versus us, you know, pointing the fingers. We have to get them engaged. And we also have to give them an olive branch, right? Like, how do you get these kids to be engaged and also make them feel like they're part of the solution? And so I said to Adrian, he's already got the young boys on lock, right? He just pulls out his McLaren Senna or a P1 or the Jesco, and they'll all come out for him, which is fantastic. Okay, how do we get the young ones engaged? Let's make them part of the solution. So I have this idea. Take back Melbourne. And the tagline is, Jacinta wouldn't, so we did. And you go around to all of these places around the city and around in different suburbs where the state government has deliberately neglected, whether it's, you know, meter-high weeds, it's sidewalks that have encampments on them, it's run down, you know, broken windows, whatever it is. We take it back by either doing that with the pressure washing or we fix it. Now, the thing about fixing it, obviously some red tape, can't do anything that gets us legally in trouble, can't do anything that, you know, someone will get injured or hurt or stop traffic. Obviously, we've got all those prerequisites. But imagine if it's something that people in that local area have been so pissed off about for so long. And like, I'll give you an example. In Clayton is southeast suburbs of Melbourne. There is a particular stretch of road, and I think it's undeveloped land that's actually zoned for industrial, if I remember correctly. It's about a kilometre stretch long a piece of road, and it's a dumping ground. It's become a tip, an illegal tip. And so people around that area know this. And so they're going there and leaving truckloads of residential waste, building waste. And so when you drive down this road, this has been happening for years. And the people of Clayton want it cleaned up. And yet the issue is the state government and the council are arguing whose job it is. Anyway, my point is, Jacinta wouldn't, so we did. And so imagine this for two seconds. This gives me a couple of, this is a dodecahedron approach, if you will. One.
Sorry, I wasn't ready for that many sides on the thing. That's more than an octagon. I don't even know how many that is.
Dodecahedron, look it up. I remember a few things from my methods classes, very small amounts, but every now and then, just to make it sound like I paid attention. So you get the youth activated, you get them down there. Imagine if we had a bit of a working beat and we cleaned up that stretch of road, okay? So obviously everyone's going to do the safety precautions. Ignore that for a second. Jacinta wouldn't, so we did. It would take maybe us half a day to clean it all up, put it into the back of a skip and get rid of it. Done. Solution solved. Imagine if the state government was involved. It would involve 50 people, 6 months of bureaucracy, probably cost $2 million, and they'd need to block off traffic for a 5-kilometre square radius and have 6 people there with lollipop signs.
Yeah, and that's just to do the risk assessment. They won't have done the work yet, but they will have completed the risk assessment.
The work won't get done for another 7 years, and it'll probably be over budget by about 8 times, and there's going to be a hefty donation to the CFMEU.
But the strippers on poles in the break room are going to be mint.
They'll be the good ones. We'll get them from Spearmint Rhino or something, you know? Yeah. So this was my idea, right, guys? What do you think? Jacinta wouldn't.
Let me interrogate that a little bit. Not to be a naysayer, but I'm going to push back on a couple of areas where I can see, unless you've already thought it through, there could be some weaknesses here. one of the problems that you've got is that these are things that no one notices after they've been done. Now, yes, your hardcore locals who have been putting up with it for ages, they will notice, of course. But, it's like a handyman at a church. I grew up, my dad's a pastor of a church. And my dad was at some sort of a church meeting, was honoring the church handyman who'd been with us, I think, for 30 years at that point. And he used this really interesting phrase. He said, he does the work that no one notices when it's done, but everyone complains about when it's not. Right. And the risk that you run is everyone's going to complain about it when it's not done. And then the minute they drive through when it's done, a lot of people actually won't consciously notice that it's done. They just won't remember to complain because, well, there's nothing to complain about anymore. How are you going to billboard this? How are you going to make sure people actually realize, oh, hey, shit, yeah, this has been done?
Hey, sir, do you remember last year a reel I made about a burnt out car on an intersection at Springvale Road?
How could I forget? You gave me liver poisoning because you played it during one of our shows.
So that's the approach. Mortal, embarrassment for this government. Just embarrass the shit out of them. So how do we embarrass? So it's one thing to do the thing. This is why I said dodecahedron, right? We've got multiple facets going on all at the same time.
You need to stop attacking me with that word. I feel violated.
It's like when I said lumpen proletariat. It's like, so many syllables.
I'm just going to sit over here with my wine.
Nice back of the hoodie, by the way. You never show it off.
Oh, yeah.
How good's that look?
Get yours at topherfield.com.
Subtle scripting. So yeah, it's mass social media campaign, kind of like what Spencer's doing. So this is why I thought Spencer's campaign is so brilliant. So Adrian's got over 1 million followers. I've got 85,000. Troy Candy, whoever else. Like, there's a whole host of people who have really big profiles.
I will repost it all on my stuff for what it's worth. Absolutely.
100%. You get people down there. Adrian gets his cars down there. You make a bit of a thing. Someone has a sausage sizzle. Everyone gets some photos. We have a website. Jacinta wouldn't, so we did. Before, after, total cost. Here's the kicker, right? Because one of my mates was like, Carly, great idea. Love where you're going. But the lefties will say, hey, he's a billionaire. Of course you should be doing it. Here's the thing. I don't want Adrian's money because I don't want that to be the solution. Sure, of course, if someone comes in and writes a blank check, that's what the government would do. No. Yeah. This is community power. We're going to do it. And we're going to do it in a way that is run like a small business. We're going to do the bin stickers. We're going to have merch. People buy the merch. Take back Melbourne. Woke Dennis. I survived Woke Denistan. Yeah, you like it? And then that creates the funds. Do you like it? Woke Denistan.
I hate it when you come up with good ideas, Carly. They're just, I'm
telling you.
Pisses me off so much.
This brain doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense verbally, but up here, she's a genius.
Gosh, doesn't it?
Just call me Yay. But here's the thing, right? Merch makes the money. The money goes back in, so it's a not-for-profit. I don't want Adrian's money. I don't want anyone to throw money at it. I want it to be community-led. Get the youth out. Everyone participates. And what it is, the reason I'm so big on the participation is I keep banging on about self-esteem and pride. If you do something and you see the work afterwards, you're like, oh, yeah, man, I did that. Imagine if it goes mega fucking viral and it's getting millions of views. You don't think all those kids are going to be like, hey, that's me right there. That's me. I was there. Yeah. I got the T-shirt.
Okay. You need I survived Vietnam. Or Vietnam, you don't know, man, you weren't there.
Is this the thing? I don't know. Is this like Good Morning Vietnam? I don't know.
No, it's Platoon. You talk to me about culture? I was the one that got the name of Tyra Banks, and I'm the one that knows the, wow, Carly, how dare you? Don't talk to me about culture
again. Sounds like a movie my dad would have watched, like MASH.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah,
it's this iconic, you don't know, man, you weren't there. It's like, it's essentially a Vietnam PTSD film. So yeah, Vietnam, you don't know, man, you weren't there.
Okay.
I reckon it's no.
I reckon I survived Woke Danistan is brilliant.
Look, I'll give that a solid second place. That's all right. It does, yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, you can have that.
So this is my thing. And look, it's going to cause friction. And the whole point is we don't need to do this for months. We just do this in a couple of key pockets around the state, make a big fanfare about it. It goes social media viral. And it's enough to get the media are watching Portelli like a hawk. So all of a sudden, the media are like, hey, Jacinta Allen, what do you think about this? They were able to clean it up in 4 hours with,
No. It's a goer. Count me in. I will throw, for what it's worth, I'll throw whatever weight I've got behind it, which I mean, physically is substantial, although less than it was. But I'll help to amplify, I'll signal boost whatever you guys do. I think it's brilliant. I'll come down, especially if it's close to the election. So Carl and I are going to do some pre-election stuff, like what he did. He came down to Albury and did a show just before the Albury by-election. He's going to do something similar in November for the Victorian election. He's said that he wants to involve me in some way. I don't know what that means yet, but we'll work that out as we get closer. But I suspect come the November election, I'll probably end up spending a fair bit of time down there. So like, let's do some stuff. Let's do some stuff.
Look, just to be clear, this isn't going to sway an election. It's not about that. It's about making the community itself realize that, hey, the government abandoned us a long time ago, but why are we stopping from taking action? There's no reason that we can't take back our city. Absolutely no reason. I mean, yeah, we want to vote these bastards out, but this is the thing. You've got Janine Allis. I don't think she lives in Melbourne, but you've got Tina Arena, Dave Hughes. There's a whole Beck Judd, a whole host of people who are fed up. I'm sure they'll get behind it as well. So, the thing that I'm really pissed off with, I'll leave it with this. I know we're going to pack it up soon, but I get really, really over the talking. We can do 1,000 podcasts. We can do reels. People can sit there and give their hot takes. But if no one ever actually picks up a broom or a shovel, then what the fuck are we doing? It's really brave of us to sit behind a screen and a microphone and go, oh, this is all the problems. But no one actually wants to come up with the solution. What is the solution? How do we do it? Oh, that'll never work. Okay, great. What do you think we can do? This is the thing. Whenever I present this to people go, oh, well, that might not work because of this. I'm like, hey, better we try than not try.
Mm-hmm.
How about we do something, anything? And look, from there, that might start a what do you call it? A chain reaction. I don't know.
Well, that was exactly why I persevered during COVID, even though it looked like it was pretty futile. Like, I didn't know that we were going to end up with hundreds of thousands of people showing up to the protests and so forth. Now, in the end, we didn't manage to get rid of Daniel Andrews. So you could argue still to this day, you could argue that it was futile. But from my point of view, if you only do something because you're guaranteed to get the outcome you want, that's a really shallow outcomes driven. You're not living by any kind of principle. You're not living by your values and saying, no, this is right, so I will do it irrespective. You're outcomes driven. Think about August Landmesser. Now, he's the guy that you would have seen in black and white photos of a whole bunch of Nazi dock workers. They weren't in Nazi uniforms. They were just in kind of workers' uniforms. They were dock workers, unionists, actually. And there's all of them there doing the Nazi salute, and he's there like this, right? And you'll see it. You can find his name. August Landmesser is his name. Now, he didn't know that there was a camera there. He didn't know that someone was going to photograph him. He didn't know that dusty photograph was going to sit in an attic for decades and be rediscovered. I'm not sure when, I think like the 1990s or something, and then end up, this thing called the internet was going to get invented. And now an enormous proportion of the world's population, probably more than 10% of the world's population, has at some point in their life seen the photograph of that one man with his arms folded across his chest when everyone around him was doing the Nazi salute. He had no idea. But he did it because it was right, not because he thought that there was going to be any specific outcome. Think about the tank man in Tiananmen Square. He stands there with his shopping bags. Like, it's almost pathetic. He's there, he's sort of weedy little man with droopy shoulders with his little business shirt on, and he's holding shopping bags in his arms, and he stands in front of a tank, and he eyeballs the tank commander through the little slot. And the tank commander stops, and the entire column of tanks comes to a halt. He didn't know that there was a BBC crew a kilometer behind him on the top of a building with both a photography camera and a video camera, and that images of that were being recorded and would be broadcast, and that he would become an icon for an entire generation of Chinese people and people around the world who love freedom. They didn't do it because they knew what the outcome was going to be. They did it because they knew it was right. This is something that we need so much more of in all of us, myself, yourself, every single person watching, every single person in this country. We need people to go, you know what, I'm going to do it because it's right. And I might be the person that fate selects and history decides everyone's going to know about what you did. Or I might be one of the other million other people who did the same thing and we never heard about it. We never saw it. No one took a photograph. No one knows. I don't care. What I will do is the right thing.
Rosa Parks wasn't the first. Who was the first person?
It was Claudette Colvin. I talk about her in one of my keynote speeches that I will be doing a lot in the US. Claudette Colvin was Rosa Parks before Rosa Parks was Rosa Parks. She did the exact same thing. She refused to move to the back of the bus in Montgomery County, Alabama, 9 months before Rosa Parks. Now, here's the thing. The civil rights movement was gathering momentum and they were looking for a lawsuit. They understood the power of lawfare. They were looking for a lawsuit that they could try and win. And Claudette Colvin did what she did, and she got charged with, assaulting police officers and all kinds of just crazy stuff. And they were going to run the case with her. I'm not sure about the exact details, but my understanding is they were going to run the case with her. And then she was discovered to be pregnant out of wedlock. I think by then she'd turned 16. But we're talking a black girl in the Deep South in the 1950s or 60s. I don't even remember now. So that's a big no-no. That's a big taboo. So she couldn't be the lead girl. She couldn't be the face of this lawsuit. And so Rosa Parks was working in some capacity, I think in a secretarial capacity, but again, don't quote me. I haven't brushed up on this in a very long time. She was working for the civil rights sort of movement, the sort of the formal civil rights group. And she had heard about what Claudette Colvin did. Of course, she lived in the same town. She knew all about it. And she actually says in interviews, she says, I got inspiration from Claudette Colvin. I saw what happened to her and I thought, if I do the same thing and I get the same result and I keep it all clean so that I can be the face of this campaign, then we've got the focus of the lawsuit that we need. And that's exactly what they did. It's exactly what happened. Now, Claudette Colvin, for her part, she had to leave Alabama. She moved to New York because her family rejected her. She was pregnant out of wedlock. She was a bad girl. She was trouble. She moved to New York. She grew old and died. Oh, she hasn't died yet, sorry, but she's now well into her 80s. And I believe, and again, I'm pulling figures from deep in my memory. I believe that she was 82 years old when finally the US Congress gave her a commendation, a recognition for what she did. And I think it was a few years later, I'm going to say 86, something around there, where her criminal record was finally rescinded and reversed. So she was no longer a criminal. So she lived her entire life as a criminal, as a disgraced girl who had a child out of wedlock, who had to move to the other corner of the country to get away from the disgrace that surrounded her. And it was only in her very old age that they finally actually went, you know what? You deserved better. Now, here's the thing, and this is why I talk about her in the keynotes that I do. She was interviewed, and it was in her 80s. She was interviewed, and she was asked, was it worth it? How do you feel about all of this? And her reply was, I was a spark, and the spark caught on. Right? Can you imagine growing old, knowing that you were a spark, and that the spark you created caught on? Right? Who cares what the criminal record says about you? Who cares what your haters say about you? Who cares what the pearl clutchers and the tut-tutters want to say about you? Imagine living your life, growing old, knowing that you were the spark that started something great. Like, that's incredible.
I agree with you, but I have the most tangenty of all tangents. So can you please bring me in?
Okay, sorry. Tangenty of all this is not like regular tangent. This is like, sorry, I got to limber up for this one. I just got to stretch the sciatic nerve here. I don't want to. Wow. Okay.
My back.
I'm going Eminem. I'm going Eminem. You ready?
Go on.
No, I can't do it. I can't do the Eminem.
I was going to say my fucking
tangent time. All right, Carly, this better be worth it.
You talked about a spark. Can I tell you what happened to me yesterday? It's a funny
I don't think
story.
I can stop you.
You cannot. So I had this little cute thing that I was showing G that a girlfriend gave me. It's like a little pin, like a lapel pin, and it says emotional battery. And it's like empty all the way up to full. And it was like, oh, it's really cute. G gave it back to me and my butterfingers dropped it and it fell between my seat and the console, the center console, and it went under the seat. I was like, oh no. And like anything that falls under my seat, like that's it, it's gone to God. Once it's under the Jeep, it's under the Jeep for life. And I was like, damn it. And I was like, no, I'm going to go get it. So I get under the like seat and I pull back the carpet, like the actual carpet, not just the little mat. And I'm digging and put my hand in there. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? And I pull this thing out. I'm like, oh, I can't quite get it. I'm like, hang on, is that part of the car? I'm trying to dislodge it. And finally I yank it out. I pull out a power bank, right? A power bank that is completely bloated minutes from explosion.
Oh, yeah.
The thing is, I don't have any recollection of buying this. That's how old it is. It's probably been there 4 years. I've had my car 10 years. This power bank is ready to rock and roll. And because it had been sitting on the bottom of my car, it'd been getting hot, right, from the car.
Yeah.
And so it's expanded. It's all cracked. And like, I'm about to have a lithium fight in my bloody car, and I would have no idea how it started.
Or just like toxicity poisoning, yeah.
So how's that for serendipity? If G hadn't have passed me that thing because he picked it up out of curiosity and I dropped it and then shoved my hand down there, my car could be up in flames tomorrow. And here we would be blaming it on the turf wars and the tobacco wars. But no, really, it was just me losing a power bank 6 years ago.
That is a sad and sorry tale of woe. The Jeep survives another day. What a crying shame. Yeah, you don't remember buying it. Have you thought about why?
Well, I'm scared. I don't know what to do with it. It's like ready to explode. It's like it's meant to be slimline. It's all pregnant.
I think you just put them into the battery recycling things that are down at some supermarkets. That's what I do. Like no one stops you. You can just chuck them in there. So that's what pouch batteries do when they start to when they're what are they called? Well, yeah. So there's you've got the anode and the cathode, and in liquid. Oh gosh.
Jay's admitting to trying to kill me. My life experience isn't that good, babe.
As they age and as they get charged and discharged, and particularly heat does it, they build up these, I think they're called dendrites. I might have that wrong. And once they connect between the anode and the cathode, that's where funky stuff starts to happen. So yeah. Now I would suggest probably it had gone to the point, yes, once it penetrates the electrolyte, thank you, and connects onto the other side, that's where funky stuff happens. But once it's actually already got to that point, I think it's pretty well done. I don't think you're actually at much risk after that point. It's as it does that if it's going to blow, it's going to blow in that process. So, G, you're going to have to try again because that one was a dud.
Guys, I could have died. Anyway, was that not worthy of a tangent? I thought it was a great tangent.
Okay, great. Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. Look, whatever you say. If you think it was worth it, Carly, then it was worth it. Like, who am I to say?
Dilemmas. You guys know better than to antagonize me about my car. You know better. But here we are. You went from a metaphorical Jeep bomb to an actual bomb. Thank you. I'm looking at you.
Yeah. So Topher making a break into battery engineering. I could not engineer a battery, but I do know a little bit about them going wrong. Ask me how I know. Oh, good question. I'm glad you asked. Because the very first iPhone that I ever owned was the only phone so far. And I've owned a lot of Samsungs now, which are the ones that have the reputation for going bang. The very first iPhone that I ever owned was the only one that ever tried to go bang on me. And the phone was it was actually still functioning when I realized that the back of it had started to bulge with exactly the same thing that you were just talking about, Carly. The phone actually still worked for about another week after it began to have this bulge in it. I was like, oh, that's a bit weird. Then about a week later, it stopped working, and I took it into the Apple, place, and they were like, "Oh, that's really not good," and they rushed it off to a room out the back and put it into like a container thing. I'm like, okay, what's wrong with it? Like, oh, it's dead. It's dead.
Remember that happened to my phone, like, I don't know, 4 months ago, 5 months ago, before I got my new one? It was liquid damage, and it was about to also do the same thing. So lesson learned: don't fuck around with lithium batteries.
Yeah, don't buy apples. That's the lesson.
All right, one more question, because she will be annoyed if I don't ask. So we've seen a lot of polling come out around One Nation, particularly at the state level, whether it's SA, Farah, and now the Nepean and Victoria. But recently, you would have seen this. Let me add it to screen. A Demos poll has One Nation up at 28%. And I think there was one, I'm trying to find it, where it's expected that Pauline Hanson could absolutely obliterate the Liberal Party and have almost a majority government. Do you have that handy?
So let me just grab some images here, because I've got a bunch of them. But I'm
trying to find it.
They're all different, and they're all broken in their own way. So I've got this one here. I don't know if this is the one that you're talking about, because I'm not a mind reader. Is this the one you're talking about here?
I'm going to say yes. So G's question was about, we've already seen the trend, particularly with Farah and South Australia, with, what the polls say is what actually happens when it comes to the election. Given what's happening federally now, do you anticipate that we are on track to see a One Nation, not necessarily wipeout, but definitely a majority coming in and having like a massive transition away from the uniparty?
I anticipate that the current momentum has not yet stopped, but the rate of progress will decline. The nature of any of these sorts of shifts is the more people you've already got behind you, the fewer people are left to win over. And a huge proportion of those will never be won over. No matter what you do, they will not come to your side. And so it's a law of diminishing returns. So let's take this particular poll, and let me make this point about polls. The Demos poll puts One Nation ahead of Labor. This one here, the Redbridge poll, puts Labor ahead of One Nation. Liberals get anywhere from like 13% up to 27%, depending on the polls that you're talking about. It's a crapshoot. What matters is to step back from the detail and look at the overall trend. What is unquestionably clear is we've gone from a two-party to a three-party sort of system. I hate to use the word system, because the system itself is actually agnostic, but you get what I mean. That's abundantly clear. The order of those three parties is less clear. You can't be reading too much into the detail of these polls. Now, let me say this. Labor are still expected to win exactly half of the seats with only 31% of the primary vote. And people go, oh, that's because I have preferences. Well, actually, the same thing happened with the Labor Party in the UK, where they don't have preferences. They have first past the post. And Labor won a huge majority with, I think it was only about 36 or 37%. Someone can fact check me on that. It was below 40, well below 40%. So here's the funny thing about a democratic system. In theory, if you could control exactly where every vote went, you could win a majority government with only 26% of the vote. Actually, technically less, but I'm going to use 26 because it's easy. Because what you need is 50% plus one of the vote in 50% plus one of the seats. That's how you win a majority. 50% plus one of the votes in 50% plus one of the seats. What's that? Well, it's basically a quarter. It's just over a quarter. It's like 26%. So in theory, if you could play God and control exactly where every single vote went, then you could win a majority of seats with only about 26% of the vote. And that would still be a democratic result. And that could happen whether it's first past the post or whether it's preferential. That doesn't have to change the outcome. So people look at this and go, 31%, how can they get half of the seats with only 31% of the vote? Well, that's why. Think about the distribution. So what we know from these two results, the 31% of the top line and the 50% of the seats in the bottom graph, is that their vote percentage is split quite flat across more than half of the seats. And that's why they do so well. That's why with only 31% they can win more than half of the seats. But there comes a point where a tipping point is an overused expression. There comes a point where if that drops to say 29, 28, the number of seats falls away fast. Okay, so look at this: 31% for Labor, 28% for One Nation. The difference in seats is anywhere up to like 35 seats, depending on which end of the range you want to take for either of them. And Labor are on the cusp of that. They're on the cusp of their number of seats collapsing if their vote drops much further. So they are literally, One Nation and Labor are literally right there or thereabouts, right on that tipping point. And I think the budget has hurt Labor. I think it's hurt Labor more than what the polls are currently showing. And I think if they ram through, because let's remember it's not been legislated yet, but if they ram through their reforms as they are currently planning to do, that will bite hard for reasons that I've covered in videos already. When you eliminate negative gearing, rents rise quickly. It takes less than 6 months for the results to be visible, 18 months for the results to start hurting. Well, that puts us right on about the next federal election. So I think on that basis alone, they're looking at losing about another 2-3% of their vote. And these will be the diehards. These will be the low-income, blue-collar renters that they're losing at that point. And they will not go to Liberals, because that would be sacrilege to go to Liberals. They will go to One Nation. In terms of who they preference, they will go to One Nation. Some will go to Greens, but enough will go to One Nation. I genuinely believe that we will see a situation where the Liberals and One Nation can form government after the next election. Will they? That's a different question. But I believe that the result will be that they can.
I was saying before about how I've said it a few times this podcast, where once the illusion's shattered, there's no coming back. And that's how I feel about the Greens. The Greens are never going to recruit more people than they currently have. If anything, it's going to just keep going down. There's always
be careful, because I said the same thing about One Nation about a year ago. I said that One Nation had peaked. Everyone that's ever going to vote for One Nation has voted for One Nation. Yeah, guys, I might have got that wrong. Just a little.
Definitely got that one wrong. But this is why I'm hopeful about what I'm saying about the Greens. The Greens have tied themselves to socialism, this new version of cultural Marxism. And the Palestine thing has really started to piss people off. Mostly because it's disruptive to the city and all that sort of stuff, all the marches. But every time one of these groups of the flotillas going across to Gaza, right, they make the news, they carry on, and it's the same. It doesn't matter what it is or what it's attributed to. It's no different to the Just Stop Oil people throwing tomato soup at a Van Gogh and sticking their hand to the wall. It's stupid. And your average person's like, these people are inane. There is nothing you can say whilst performing a stunt like that that makes me take you seriously. So the whole Gaza flotilla, that's actually what's going to ruin the Greens for them. The more and they know this, a lot of the Greens people are saying this, the Palestine thing's gone too far. We now look like we support terrorism, and we now look like we're unhinged and we're just activists. And they are, we know that. But, think of Grace Tame, Abby Chatfield, all of those girls who have come out in support for the Greens, and they show you. These aren't people of sound mind. These aren't people who are rational and logical. They're not
a good advertisement.
They're not people who are going to make sound tax policies, right? And so the thing that's also stuffed the Greens is right now we have a democratic socialist, because apparently there's a difference between that and an actual Marxist. There's not, spoiler alert, but whatever. We seem to need to learn the hard way. We have one of those right now in a location called New York City. And everything Zohan Mamdani is promising or campaigned on is now realizing he either can't do it, that people won't do it, or that it's designed to actually hurt the people he's trying to save.
Okay. I actually agree with your overall point, but I'm going to disagree with you on the specifics. I don't think that anyone who is a swing voter is paying any attention to New York, not in Australia. So diehard Greens are paying attention to New York because they love Mamdani, but they're not going to change their vote because he fails. People like me are paying attention to New York because we recognize that socialism fails, and we're like, oh, this is going to be good, get the popcorn. But we're not going to change our vote based on it. The people that can actually change their vote, they don't know who Mamdani is. They've never heard of him.
Okay, that's fair. That's a fair thing. I think
that's my theory.
I can see why you say that, but also I think a lot of these young ones are going to grow out of it, particularly when they get a taste
out of socialism for sure. Yes.
Yeah, and this is the thing: we've actually had a pretty good taste of socialism here in Australia, not just because of our socialist healthcare, but I mean just in general. We've had a taste of it since COVID. We've seen it creeping in, and people realizing like Husey, great example. Husey was all for it. Mandate the vaccine, lock them out, don't let them go into the cafes. Hey, we want more of this. Daniel Andrews is keeping us safe. Daniel Andrews is hang on a minute. Daniel Andrews is out of office now, but he's left us with $100 billion of debt. And now his bloody second in charge, his stooge, Socialist Barbie, has doubled it.
Yeah.
Huh. So like we're getting a taste of it. And again, like I said, I don't think the Greens can ever come back because wokeism, like I said, it's dead. It's just doing the whole throes of a dying animal thing. One Nation need to be careful who they recruit. That's all I'll say. They need to be careful who they recruit.
Okay. Can I make a comment? Because I'm going to try and pick up what you're putting down there. I'm really pleased to see certain people that I find very distasteful who think that culture is all about the color of your skin. They can't that just because European culture came from a white culture, they therefore think that only white people can participate in it forever. It's exclusively white. They are like hardcore. They are hardcore, like cultural appropriation people. How dare you steal my Westminster system? So one of my concerns has been that they, especially being outlawed, because the White Australia Party has been temporarily, it looks like there's a High Court challenge that I think has a reasonable chance of success over that. But for the time being, they're outlawed. One of my concerns has been that they will flock to One Nation and that will then become a pretext for the for the whatever his name, the relevant government minister, to declare that One Nation are a hate group because, oh, look, they have these members and these members have a history of saying these things, blah, blah, blah.
And they would do that to Pauline the other day, and she handled it so well. Yeah.
Look, Pauline's aware of it, but the bottom line is the legislation as written, there is no accountability. The government can literally just do this unilaterally. There is no recourse. You have to take them to essentially the High Court, maybe the federal court, but probably the High Court to actually challenge this. And that takes time. So my suspicion is that they'll time that to just before the next federal election to get them removed from the ballot, blah, blah, blah. I've talked about that before. But what's actually happening in reality is because the white fash have an issue with some of the people that got elected for One Nation in South Australia, they're becoming allergic to One Nation now. They're doing to One Nation what Reform are doing what Restore are doing to Reform in the UK. And I think that happens to be a good thing. Now, where most of them appear to be heading is to the People First Party. Now, Senator Jared Rennick, he's not a white supremacist as best as I can tell. But unfortunately for him, he's got a bunch of these people coming in because he's come out with some pretty anti-Israel rhetoric and that kind of aligns. And so these people are like, screw Pauline, she kissed the wall. We're going to go over here. And I'm kind of like, oh, good. That's actually helping to add a layer of protection to the One Nation Party. And when you vote, because we have a preferential system, sure, you're going to put people first. Okay, good for you. You're absolutely entitled to do that. And to be clear, I think some of what Jared's got to say is fantastic. I think I would love to see Jared Rennick as a very much trusted advisor to the government, but I don't want to see him as the Prime Minister. That's my position on Jared. Did you just go red?
No, I've gone I think my light's gotten too hot, so I know what I'll do. I've got to. Well, we do need to wrap up, but I think.
Well, you look like you got black light on you. Let me finish on this point. So I'm not hating on Jared Rennick. I think there's some personality clash issues there. He has a difficult time playing in a larger team. I think that's evident from his sort of history. He's lashed out at me online in the past over things that in my opinion, I didn't say. He saw things in what I said that in my opinion weren't there. But hey, we shook hands in Albury and okay, fine, whatever, all good. I wish him well, but his party is not going to form government anytime soon. And if they can attract the white trash, like not that all white people are trash, but some white people are trash. So when I say white trash, I don't mean white people, I mean the white trash specifically. If they could all just go over there and bring all of their history and all of their actual racism with them and stay away from the One Nation Party, that would be great. I would really like that.
Yeah, look, I lost favor with Rennick a while ago. He made a comment, I think it was about Israel or something like that, but it wasn't that he spoke about Israel, to be clear. It was the way he said it. And I'm like, that was literally a dog whistle. And I hate saying that because I sound like a lefty, but
yeah,
you pay attention, so not so much to what they said, how they said it. And it said everything I needed to know. I was like, oh my God, you're recruiting. That's all. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. It wasn't what he was trying to say something profound about, being anti-Israel. No, it was a dog whistle to exactly the people you're talking about. And sure enough, there they were in spades. I don't know why he would make that. Gerard's not an idiot. I don't know why you'd want them on your side.
He's actually one of the cleverest people that I believe I've ever met. I did an extended interview with him back when I was doing slow chats during lockdowns, and I would just sit there and get drunk and smoke cigars and talk shit with people. And he was on for, I don't know, 3.5 hours. And I came away from that genuinely, and I've said this publicly multiple times before, I have never been made to feel like I'm a 6-cylinder engine up against a V8. Not that he belittled me. He didn't push me down to that.
You do know what a V6 versus a V10 is, though? Me being the V10, you being the V6.
Sure. But he had so much intellectual horsepower. But unfortunately, that can come with some baggage. And I talk about this in my books. You know, in Defense of Assholes is a chapter that I basically wrote about myself. You come with baggage when you have a certain kind of perspective, worldview, whether that's high intellect in the case of Jared Rennick. I'm not going to claim that for myself, but I've got a very particular worldview that allows me to do remarkable things in certain areas and makes me a real pain in the ass in other areas. And I know that. And Jared's no exception. What happened with me and Jared, I interviewed him. I thought it was fantastic. I published it. You know, we seemed to be getting on great. I didn't think there were any issues. Then he made a post that was essentially opposed to high levels of immigration. Now, I'm a libertarian. I happen to think that immigration is a good thing if we get the incentives right. So I wrote back what I thought was a good faith reply saying, look, I think it's about incentives and blah, blah, blah. And he responded and basically said to me, you've called me a racist. You know, like you've insulted me and called me a racist. You know I'm not a racist. How dare you call me a racist? And I'm like, I'm fairly sure I didn't, because I do know you're not a racist. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure I didn't call you a racist. But I think like his antenna was up and he was so
on the defensive.
Sensitive to the attacks. I don't want to use that phrase because that makes him sound weak, but he was on the defensive in a really strong way. And that kind of burnt the bridge a little bit. I'm kind of like, you know what? I don't need this in my life. And we haven't spoken since then until we met briefly in Albury. We shook hands and that was kind of it. You know, Jared Rennick's one of the good guys in the world. And I want to see him with a place as an advisor to a competent government. But honestly, based on what I've seen of him, I don't want him to actually have power in his own hands. I'm sorry, but I just don't. And if he can play the role that he's currently playing and attract the people that he's currently attracting and keep them away from One Nation, which will help to protect them against this accusation, great. I think that's a good thing.
There's that saying that I bring up all the time, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. I think Jared Rennick, even though he's incredibly smart, he's the example. You've used Lord of the Rings, and I hate to do this, but he is exactly that. He'll get the ring and then become overwhelmed by it, right? And end up as Gollum. So power is a very, very tricky thing, and few people possess the stoicism and also the humility to hold it and not, you know, get co-opted by it. And I feel Gerard would be one of those people. That's my opinion.
I don't know that I would do any better. Like, I'm not sitting here pretending that I would do any better. But based on what I can see, I think we need his ideas to be in the mix. I think we need, there's a lot of love for Rennick here. A lot of people in support of him, and rightly so. I don't want him to be dismissed. But he wasn't favored within the Liberal Party. Now that's not, the Liberal Party have kicked a lot of good people out, so that's not necessarily, a bad thing. He's not being able to get along with any of the other small parties. He started his own. There's a degree of my way or the highway about how he operates that I think is going to make it really difficult for him to have a meaningful impact. I think that's unfortunate. I hope that we see more of him. I think a little bit of this. Rennick is more of a Boromir, courageous, amazing in so many ways, but also flawed in ways that he can't see. That's probably where I would pigeonhole Rennick. Yeah. But I think that's true of a lot of us. That's almost certainly true of me, but I don't know because I can't see the flaws, right? This is the nature of the beast, right? Am I more of a Boromir? Quite possibly. The nature of a Boromir is that he doesn't realize he's a Boromir. Yeah. That's the reality,
And then you have me, who just knows that I'm like flawed in all ways, but you still love me anyway.
You're a hobbit, pretty much useless, but you are very remarkably resistant to magic, and that makes you very useful.
I don't like that. That's very mean.
I don't care.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. On that note,
what did you want to be? I could have gone with an orc or a Nazgul.
I haven't watched The Lord of the Rings in 20 years. I don't even know at this point.
Okay, fine. You're an Uruk-hai. No problem. Let's just land on that.
Dragons. That's what I am. I think that's fair. I'm a dragon.
Did you just conflate Lord of the Rings with Game of Thrones?
No, that's the only one I understand. Game of Thrones, I actually remember. I don't remember fucking Lord of the Rings.
I don't need this in my life. Guys, we're going to do another 2 hours. No. We're going to do another 2-hour show just to try and palate cleanse, get her out of my system. I don't need that kind of, I don't need that.
This is the guy who didn't know a single Eagles song?
You had better be coming back here to apologize.
No, Game of Thrones is a fantastic show. I loved it.
But you switched seamlessly like it was the same thing. It's like it's like saying use the Force. Like no. One is from Star Trek, the other is from Star Wars. You can't.
They're the same to me. They're both shit.
So guys, I think what has come through very clearly in this episode is the real reason why I'm going to America for 9 weeks and fucking off as far away as I possibly can.
It's me. I'm the problem. It's me.
I'm glad that we've finally found something we can agree on.
Yeah, that's all right. I look forward to being a pebble in people's shoes. That's something I pride myself on. I'm happy for that role.
So you realize that would be a step down because right now you are a landmine under my feet. Pebble in the shoe would be a downgrade.
Oh, whatever you want me to be, I'll be that. I just like it. I love watching people squirm. But on that note, it is time to grift.
I'm too tired, Carly. You got to grift on my behalf. I'm exhausted. I had punter for an hour and a half today. I've had you for 2 hours tonight. What do you want from me? What more do you want from me? Leave me alone, Carly.
Perfect. Guys, this is the time. If you want to learn about AI, if you're one of those people that is buying into the fear porn around AI and data centers, come and do my AI masterclass and learn not to fear, that which can help you greatly. So if you would like to learn about AI, carlzjsoda.com. Sign up for my masterclass. You can get this ebook for free. You get all the Claude skills. You get a prompt library. There's masterclass 1 and 2 for super newbies and beginners. And this time for masterclass number 3, we are learning how to build a website from scratch. You will have a fully functioning website by the end of this masterclass. That is my promise to you. So it's $149. Go and sign up. And that is also, by the way, how you support me. That is how I show up in this podcast every week.
That was a pretty good pitch, Carly. I've got one better. Because I am so lazy, I still haven't gotten around to drawing the winner for my giveaway. Which means that if you go to topherfield.com and you click on the store and you enter the giveaway, which just involves putting your email address in so that you join my email list, you're in the running for $2,000 worth of prizes, including $500 worth of gift cards, $250 fuel gift card, $250 food gift card, plus a bunch of merch and other stuff. So instead of succumbing to the siren song of Carlz J Söda and her AI technology overlord bullshit, how about you come to me for a little dose of pure mammon, just straight up money. Just come and give me your email address and you will be in the running for a nice dose of cash. How does that sound? I think that sounds so much better. And while you're there, you should probably actually, check out my merch and like my t-shirts and my hoodies and my caps and my stickers and my books and my DVDs and there's some Tangent Time stuff in there as well. But mostly just make sure you join my email list so that you're in the running to win some cold hard cash. I think I won that one, Carly.
Carlz is friends with NVIDIA and Big Ram. Fucking oath. I am making friends with our tech overlords because when the robots come, I want them to remember I was on their side.
What, Big Ram? I like that. That's not bad. I'm going to find a way to use that. Big Ram. Not bad.
That's true.
All right, everybody.
My computer took so long to get fixed because RAM is expensive at the moment.
The next Oddcast Live that you watch will be the Carlz J Söda and Friends show. Unlike this one, which is Carlz J Söda and Enemies, just to be clear.
Adversaries.
Oh, you've been savage today. So Wednesday night will be the last official Oddcast before I go on my trip, but we will continue doing the Wednesday night show. It'll get recorded a little bit earlier because it'll be late at night, my time in the US, which will be early in the morning on Wednesday, Carl's time. So that we'll be recording a few hours earlier.
What time's early? I haven't been in this negotiation. What time is early?
Yeah, it's because there isn't a negotiation, Carly. I'm telling you. No, look, it probably doesn't have to be terribly, terribly inhumane. It's going to be something like probably 9 o'clock is the latest.
Oh,
8 o'clock would be better. But yeah, 9 o'clock.
I thought you were saying I'd have to be up at like 5, and that's just not going to happen.
No. And look, it'll be kind of 9 o'clock, and it's not going to go super late. Like that'll be my Tuesday night. And you know, I'm speaking at conferences, I'm going to like small groups and events and blah blah blah. So I don't want to be, you know, I want to keep my sleep up. I know. I am officially more important than you, Carly. I hope that by the end of this trip, your ego has been ground into a very fine powder and set adrift in the breeze as you watch my magnificence in America. Or maybe I'll come back with my tail between my legs and flat broke and begging for a handout. I don't know. Could go either way.
What you don't know is who one of my guests is. And I don't think we can top it. So.
You've had me all this time.
To be fair, we had Pauline last week and we didn't tell anyone. Everyone was just like, oh, it's Pauline. Okay.
That's how we roll. Where we're going, we don't need plans.
That's why we are called the Oddcast. Shit gets on.
It is. All right. So we've ragged enough shit on each other. See you all on Wednesday and have a great week. Thanks for watching.
Right. If there's anything you want us to talk about, please drop it into the Discord. Join the Discord. Keep the conversation going. I don't plug it enough. I really should. So Discord is where you can keep chatting to like-minded people. And if there's any particular topic, like if it's local news or something, let me know. Shoot us a message. We'll talk about it.
So Carlz, we're finishing. We're winding up. Are you good?
I'm good.